I, who only wanted to play football, became the Hollywood heartthrob. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 525, Sunderland's high pressure. Welbeck almost scored. With the referee's whistle, the sixth knockout round of the FA Cup officially began. Sunderland kicked off first. Number 33 centre forward Asamoah Gyan knocked the ball back to number 8 Little Zidane Malbranque. Malbranque immediately accelerated and dribbled forward. Lallana came up to intercept, but Malbranque dribbled past Lallana like a show of skill, and then easily passed Lambert, who came up to help, and then rushed towards Guran with the ball. Guran did not entangle with Malbranque, but deliberately exposed a flaw in the defense line. Malbranque twisted his mouth and accelerated to break through the flaw in Southampton's defense. As long as he could break through this flaw, Southampton's penalty area would be wide open. However, at the same time that Guran exposed the flaw, Mikel approached quietly from the side. Malbranque was busy defending Guran and never expected that the person Southampton used to defend him was Mikel. When Malbranque reacted, Mikel rushed over and knocked Malbranque out. Fortunately, Malbranque reacted quickly enough. At the moment he lost his balance, he quickly pushed the ball to the left rib of Southampton. Henderson immediately ran to chase the ball. Guran had been guarding against Henderson for a long time and sprinted behind Henderson. Henderson ran desperately, but his sprinting speed was no match for Guran. Guran almost instantly surpassed Henderson, stuck in front of Henderson's body, and used his body to protect Malbranque's quick pass out of bounds. The first wave of attack by the Black Cat Sunderland was resolved by Guran. The game continued. Sunderland adopted a high pressure method throughout the game. This is also Sunderland's usual two-wing flying and physical pressure tactics. Especially when playing against a League One team like Southampton, Sunderland is still very confident that it can press high. After Southampton kicked the ball out of bounds, Chamberlain took the ball on the wing and prepared to turn and break through. Henderson rushed up and pushed Chamberlain from behind. Chamberlain lost his balance and took the ball out of bounds. Chamberlain quickly raised his hand to appeal to the referee, but the referee seemed to have a sudden cataract and turned a blind eye. Bardsley rushed up to fight for the ball from Chamberlain. How could Chamberlain give the ball to Bardsley so easily? What's more, Southampton's teammates had not yet fully returned to defense, so Chamberlain had to delay the time. The referee blew the whistle, indicating that Chamberlain had committed a foul. Chamberlain stopped arguing with Bardsley and threw the ball in Bardsley's face with disdain. Bardsley was immediately furious. The game resumed. Henderson took the ball on the wing. Guran and Chamberlain jointly double-teamed Henderson. Henderson wanted to use his body and speed to eat Chamberlain alive, but Guran's response was very timely. He kicked the ball off Henderson's feet, and then Guran didn't even turn around, but passed the ball to Chamberlain with his heel. Chamberlain immediately accelerated like a rocket after getting the ball. Bardsley intercepted Chamberlain like an Iron Dome missile. Chamberlain made a sudden stop and changed his line, trying to pass Bardsley and then cut inside. However, Bardsley didn't give Chamberlain any chance at all and directly made a fatal sliding tackle with a scissor kick, making Chamberlain taste the taste of being tackled by Ronaldo. Chamberlain covered his ankle and fell to the ground screaming in pain. The referee signaled the team doctor to enter the field. Guran ran to the referee to appeal to the referee and asked the referee to give Bardsley a card. However, the referee did not accept Guran's appeal. The referee believed that Bardsley had tackled the ball first, and then the inertia of his body brought Chamberlain down. The referee asked Chamberlain to go to the sidelines for treatment and not to delay the game. Chamberlain could only limp to the sidelines with the help of the team doctor and receive spray treatment. The game on the field continued. Southampton got a free kick. With one less player on the field, Guran took the free kick himself. Guran exerted force on his waist and abdomen and threw it with all his strength. The football flew across most of the field like a cannonball and flew straight to the Sunderland team's penalty area. Lallana started synchronously and shook off the Sunderland defenders who were in a very forward pressure position. This ball was not offside. Seeing that Lallana was about to rush into Sunderland's penalty area and head the ball, Sunderland's goalkeeper Mignolet rushed out from the front of the goal and seized the ball with both hands before Lallana. Lallana didn't have time to stop, and his body hit Mini, who was 193 centimeters tall and weighed 88 kilograms. They fell to the ground at the same time, but Mignolet quickly got up, holding the ball firmly in his arms. Lallana grinned, and it took him a long time to sit up. The impact was so strong that Lallana was stunned for a long time before he finally came to his senses. Less than 5 minutes into the game, 2 main offensive players of Southampton have been tackled and hit. The intensity of this game is really high, and this is when the card-eating master Catamol has not yet attacked. The oppression of the Sunderland team can be seen. After Lallana recovered, Chamberlain also returned to the court. Chamberlain's ankle injury is not a big problem. It's just a shovel on the muscle tissue, so he can continue to play. After the game resumed, Sunderland continued to press hard in the midfield. Southampton, with Guran and Mikel as the centre, defended with all their strength and waited for the right opportunity. The game was in the 11th minute. Malbranque dribbled the ball to the front of Southampton's penalty area like a butterfly. Before Mikel rushed up to intercept, Malbranque immediately passed the ball to Heap Welbeck. After Welbeck got the ball, he immediately accelerated and sprinted into Southampton's penalty area. Welbeck's speed was extremely fast, and his impact was also very strong. Font and Richardson, who were responsible for defending Welbeck, could not intercept Welbeck at all. Welbeck kicked while running wildly, shot at a small angle. Goalkeeper Davis was a little slow. Davis was powerless. Bang. The football hit the post heavily and bounced back. Davis was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and immediately made a lying pounce, pressing the football tightly under his body. The fans of Southampton and Newcastle United were all shocked and sweating. Southampton's defense line was too fragile in front of Malbranque. Fortunately, Welbeck's shooting skills were poor, and Southampton escaped. Welbeck, who missed the goal, was holding his head in front of the goal, looking depressed. The game continued. Sunderland continued to press high and attack fiercely. Southampton continued to play steadily and wait for opportunities. Chapter 526 Super Shovel. Guran's Trap. The game continued. From the field, Sunderland firmly held the upper hand, and Southampton was suppressed and could hardly get out of the half. Malbranque and Henderson cooperated very skillfully, and Southampton's left side was frequently in danger. Guran's task today was to keep an eye on Henderson, which was also one of the defensive tactics arranged by coach Adkins before the game. However, Sunderland was able to play in the 9th place of the Premier League this season, and it was not a vegetarian. Sunderland's head coach Stephen Bruce also knew that Guran was a superstar with both offensive and defensive capabilities, and a man who could destroy Tottenham by himself. So Stephen Bruce also specially arranged for the card-eating master Catamol to keep an eye on Guran today. Basically, wherever Guran ran, Catamol followed. Moreover, Catamol was not in a hurry to push and slide Guran with big moves, but used small moves with his hands and feet to harass Guran. It must be said that Catamol played very well. Although these small harassment actions will not have a critical impact on Guran, they always make it impossible for Guran to help defend Henderson in the first place. The game was in the 17th minute. Malbranque passed the ball to Henderson, who was running in a cross position. Henderson dribbled past Chamberlain and went all the way to the bottom. Guran chased with all his strength, but Catamol directly strangled Guran's neck from behind with his arm to prevent Guran from starting. When Guran was ready to counter-attack, Catamol immediately withdrew his arm. Guran didn't have time to care about Catamol's small actions and directly accelerated to chase Henderson. Henderson took a step ahead and kicked the ball to the middle. Welbeck got rid of Font's entanglement with his body and speed and directly stretched out his foot to shoot. This shot is beautiful, but Davis stood in position early and blocked Welbeck's shot with his body. The football bounced out and flew to the right side of the penalty area. Asamoah Gyan rushed over, and with a push of his foot, he easily sent the ball into the net. The ball went in. The score on the big screen of the Stadium of Light was immediately rewritten as Sunderland 1:0 Southampton. The Black Cats fans cheered wildly, and the Black Cats temperament was shaking wildly in the stands. Southampton fans and Newcastle United stadiums booed wildly. If Cattermole hadn't fouled Guran first, Henderson would definitely not have been able to kick the ball so easily, and if Henderson hadn't kicked the ball, there would be no Welbeck's shot and Giants follow-up shot. All the Southampton players surrounded the referee to appeal, asking the referee to rule the goal invalid. However, the referee ignored Southampton's appeal, and instead gave a verbal warning to the leading Southampton players. The situation of this game, whether in terms of the score or the referee's sentencing scale, is extremely unfavorable to Southampton. The game continues. The smell of gunpowder on the field began to become strong. In the 26th minute of the game, Cattermole continued to use his old tricks to interfere with Guran. Guran made a sudden stop and changed his line, quickly got rid of Cattermole, and then sprinted towards Henderson. Henderson had just received the ball, and before he could speed up to pass Chamberlain, Guran directly made a death slide tackle, shoveling Henderson with the ball and the man. The referee judged Guran to be fouled, but did not take out a card. After all, although the tackle was big, it was in front of Henderson that the ball was shoveled, and then Henderson was knocked down. However, this slide tackle was obviously very fierce. Henderson lay on the ground with his teeth bared, and he couldn't get up for a long time. The game continued. Sunderland got a throw-in. Sunderland continued to look for opportunities in the midfield. Guran and Cattermole continued to confront each other physically, and Cattermole's physical strength was also declining rapidly. At the beginning of the game, Cattermole could still follow Guran like a dogskin plaster, but after only half an hour, Cattermole could hardly keep up with Guran. Realizing that Cattermole was loose, Guran's range of activities immediately became larger. Sunderland's consecutive attacks were resolved by Guran and Mikel. Henderson was also not tempered by Guran and Chamberlain's joint defense. In the 39th minute of the first half, Guran intercepted the ball at Henderson's feet and knocked the ball to Mikel, and then Guran accelerated to Sunderland's half. Mikel made a long pass and drove the ball to the left front court. Sunderland's defense line immediately chased back with all their strength and competed with Guran in speed. Guran was extremely fast and grabbed the ball in the first time. Sunderland's right back, Bardsley, who had shoveled his teammate, rushed towards Guran fiercely. It was clear from the posture that he was going to slide on Guran. Guran could obviously continue to accelerate, but he stopped and changed his line. The Southampton fans and Newcastle fans at the scene couldn't help but exclaimed, "You know, at the beginning of the game, Chamberlain was shoveled away by Bardsley at this position." However, the next moment, Guran made a high-speed Marcel turn and passed the ball behind Bardsley while turning. Bardsley had already fallen to the ground and slid, and there was no time to stop. Guran took a shot in advance and avoided Bardsley's fierce sliding tackle. At the same time, behind Guran, Cattermole was also rushing over quickly. Cattermole didn't see Bardsley, but only saw Guran stop suddenly, so Cattermole also fell to the ground and slid. Bang! Cattermole and Bardsley shoveled together. Both of them rolled on the ground holding their shoes in pain. Guran completed the Marcel turn and passed the ball to himself in the next second. Guran immediately dribbled the ball to the bottom. This set of side breakthroughs is really wonderful. Just like a trap that had been designed long ago, the two sliding tacklers of the Sunderland team were trapped in the trap at once. There was no one around Guran anymore. Goalkeeper Mignolet calmly blocked the small angle of the goal, ready to fight Guran one-on-one. Guran did not cut inside, but directly knocked back to the top of the penalty area. Chamberlain, who was running crosswise, appeared at the top of the penalty area like a chicken blood. Chamberlain stopped the ball and made a slight adjustment and directly fired a heavy shot at the goal. Mignolet also reacted very quickly, blocked the ball sideways, and saved it from the end line. The Southampton fans and Newcastle United fans in the stands all said oh. Chamberlain also shook his head and sighed with annoyance. He handled this ball too hastily. Fortunately, Southampton got a corner kick. Southampton did not attack much in the first half, only 5 times in total, of which only 2 were shots. And this corner kick was also Southampton's first corner kick. Chapter 527, a super tactical corner kick. All the Black Cats are dumbfounded. At this time, Sunderland's team doctor rushed into the field to treat Cattermole and Bardsley. Duran immediately put pressure on the referee, asking him to let Cattermole and Bardsley leave the field for treatment and not to delay Southampton's corner kick. The referee thought Duran's request was very reasonable, so he ordered Cattermole and Bardsley to go to the sidelines for treatment. In this way, Sunderland's wall of men had two fewer difficult guys. Southampton temporarily had an advantage in manpower. Watching Cattermole and Bardsley limp off the field, the Southampton fans and Newcastle United fans in the stands were so happy. Duran walked to the corner kick area and bent down to set the ball. At this time, Lallana ran over and asked to take the penalty kick. Duran rolled the ball forward half a circle with his toes with an unhappy look and then ran towards the penalty area. This tactical corner kick was used by Southampton before. Of course, Sunderland did not dare to take it lightly. Sunderland sent at least 2 defensive players to keep a close eye on Duran. Duran did not run around, but stood outside Sunderland's penalty area. Sunderland itself was short of 2 people on the field, and 2 more people were assigned to guard Duran to prevent Duran from shooting with a free kick after receiving the ball, which resulted in a very empty penalty area in Sunderland. As a result, Lallana dribbled the ball and cut into Sunderland's penalty area. Sunderland's defensive players were dumbfounded. What is this operation? Shouldn't a corner kick be a set piece? How can you dribble the ball yourself? Sunderland's players immediately raised their hands to appeal to the referee. At this time, Lallana rushed into the penalty area with the ball and shot directly. Sunderland's goalkeeper Minnie was also dumbfounded and missed the best time to save the ball. The ball went in. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. All Sunderland's players were dumbfounded. The Black Cat fans were also dumbfounded. Southampton's players celebrated happily. After a moment of hesitation, the score on the big screen changed to Sunderland 1:1 Southampton. The players of Sunderland surrounded the head coach and the linesman, complaining relentlessly. The linesman calmly explained that Duran had already kicked the free kick, but he acted so well that everyone thought that the ball was for Lallana to take the penalty kick. In fact, the ball rolled half a circle and had already gone out of the corner kick circle. It was a beautiful tactical corner kick, but Sunderland did not realize it. The entire Sunderland team was speechless. They thought Lallana would kick the free kick to Duran, and then Duran would take the free kick. As a result, when Lallana ran to ask for the ball, Duran had already started. Sunderland wanted to die after losing this ball. The game continued. Cattermole and Bardsley, who had received treatment on the sidelines, also returned to the field. They really suffered heavy losses from this mutual tackle. Not only were they injured, but it also indirectly caused Sunderland to be short of people and lose a ball that should not have been lost. Now, both sides are back to the same starting line. After the treatment, Cattermole's physical strength has greatly decreased, and he can't keep up with Duran. The 4th official raised a sign to indicate that there will be 5 minutes of injury time in the first half. Southampton seized the opportunity and, instigated by Duran, played a very beautiful counter-attack, but unfortunately Lallana's shot was too straight and the ball was not caught by Minnie. Henderson retreated to get the ball, and before Duran came forward to press, Henderson made a long pass and passed the ball to Southampton's penalty area. It's time for the back line to compete in speed. Southampton's defense line quickly retreated. However, Welbeck's speed was too fast, and the impact was also very strong. Welbeck stopped the ball with his chest at the first time, and Font reached out to pull Welbeck in embarrassment. Just touched it, not pulled it. Welbeck took a big step forward with the ball, and then he lost his balance and tripped over his right foot with his left foot. Welbeck fell in the penalty area. The referee blew the whistle immediately. Font, who was confused, received a yellow card. The referee awarded Sunderland a penalty. The entire Stadium of Light was like a pot of boiling water in an instant. The Black Cats fans cheered excitedly. The fans of Southampton and Newcastle cursed. Welbeck looked like a victim, lying on the ground with his face covered, and didn't get up for a long time. It has to be said that Welbeck's diving is really bad, and he has no acting skills at all. But the Premier League referee is blind. Southampton's captain Davis, Duran and others surrounded the referee to appeal, but the referee still insisted on his penalty. Seeing that the penalty was decided, Welbeck grinned and climbed up from the grass. For Hebe, diving is much safer than shooting. There is still a high probability that the shot will not go in, but for diving, just lie down on the grass. Number 10 Henderson came to the penalty spot and took the penalty. Davis took a deep breath and shook his arms back and forth to interfere with Henderson's mentality. Although Henderson is still very young, his mentality is extremely calm. Henderson took a run up and kicked the ball with the outside of his foot, shooting the ball into the lower right corner of the goal. Davis misjudged the direction. The ball went in. In the last minute of the first half injury time, Henderson scored a penalty kick. The score on the big screen of the Stadium of Light was immediately rewritten as Sunderland 2:1 Southampton. Sunderland is leading again. With a long whistle from the referee, the first half of the game came to an end. The players of both sides returned to their respective locker rooms amid the cheers and boos of the fans. Although Southampton's technical data in the first half was far lower than Sunderland's, Southampton played very solidly. Moreover, they were only one goal behind. For Southampton, who once fell behind Tottenham by 4 goals and still managed to tie and surpass 2 goals, falling behind by 1 goal in the first half was really nothing. What's more, this goal was a penalty kick that Sunderland scored by diving. After experiencing confrontations with so many strong teams, Southampton's strength in the competition has also been greatly improved. Sunderland's advantage is no longer an advantage in the eyes of Southampton today. During the halftime break, Coach Adkins quickly reviewed the coordination problems of Southampton in the first half and temporarily fine-tuned Southampton's position and movement. After the 15-minute break, the two teams re-entered the field and changed sides to fight again. Southampton's defensive position was tighter and more targeted than in the first half. Merkel's task was also increased. He was no longer fully guarding Malbranque, but also guarding Catamol at the same time, to limit Catamol's restriction on Guran. Guran's range of activities has also become larger. At the beginning of the second half, Henderson was almost suffocated by Guran's pressure. Chapter 528 The Southampton team has become stronger. In the 52nd minute of the second half, Guran used his body to block Henderson and forcibly stole the ball. Henderson immediately counter-obbed on the spot, but Guran's ability to protect the ball left Henderson helpless. Before Catamol rushed up to Harris, Guran saw the opportunity and quickly passed the ball to the right front court. Schneiderlin immediately started at high speed after receiving the ball. Zenden, once the fastest left forward in the world, tried his best to chase Schneiderlin, but he couldn't catch up at all. He couldn't even reach out to pull Schneiderlin's jersey. After Schneiderlin ate Zenden alive with speed, he didn't wait for his cousin Kieran Richardson to rush up to intercept, and then he changed his line and cut inside, and then decisively shot the ball into the dead corner of the goal at the edge of the penalty area. Mignolet reacted very quickly and stretched out his hand to block the ball. Sunderland's Argentine flower Marcus Angelari happened to appear at the landing point of the ball. Seeing that Lallana was about to rush up to compete for it, Chamberlain also came from the side to double team. Angelari immediately cleared the ball with a big kick. The accuracy of this clearance was still good. The ball crossed the midfield line and flew towards Henderson's position. Henderson jumped up to stop the ball, and Guran knocked Henderson away and dribbled the ball directly. Henderson eagerly reached out to grab Guran, but Guran was so fast that Henderson couldn't catch him at all. Catamol rushed up from the side and slid to block Guran. Guran calmly kicked the ball forward and jumped up quickly to avoid Catamol's sliding tackle. Before Anton Ferdinand came up to grab the ball, he caught up with his own dribbling ball 1 second ago and then easily passed Anton Ferdinand with a beautiful Marcel turn. At this moment, Sunderland's defensive line was completely messed up, and the penalty area was full of empty space. Guran first pulled the ball to the left side of the penalty area, seemingly waiting for Lallana to retreat from the middle to a position that was not offside, before passing the ball to Lallana, but the next second, Guran directly shot with the outside of his left foot. This kick was too sudden, a nerve knife-like shot, and the power was extremely great, and the angle was extremely tricky. Not to mention Mignolet. Even if there was another Courtois and another Saint Casillas, the 3 goalkeepers standing on the goal line at the same time could not save it. Mignolet could only do his best to jump up. The football rubbed Mignolet's fingertips and shot into the net. The ball went in. The Southampton fans and Newcastle fans at the scene instantly fell into a boiling state. The score on the big screen of the Stadium of Light was immediately rewritten as Sunderland 2:2 Southampton. Southampton tied the score again tenaciously. This English League One team made all the Black Cats present shudder. Obviously, they didn't win the League Cup by defeating Tottenham by luck. They relied on Guran. After scoring the goal, Guran also chopped the wind with one hand and happily ran wildly on the court to celebrate. The 6th round of this FA Cup is indeed difficult, but compared with the previous League Cup final of Tottenham, the difficulty is still much lighter. Moreover, after the baptism of the final competition, the overall level of the Southampton team has also been improved. Not to mention Guran's own improvement. Guran will gain full growth in every game. In this case, the entire Southampton team is becoming more and more confident. The game continues. The two sides are back on the same starting line. Southampton strengthened the control of the midfield and front court, gradually changing from being oppressed in their own half to oppressing the midfield and front court. Sunderland still maintained a high pressure posture and no longer distributed the ball through Malbranque, but played a more direct cross from both wings. The styles of the two teams are somewhat similar. Both teams like to use physical confrontation to win. Sunderland's style of play is simpler and looks better in terms of data. In the 67th minute of the game, Henderson received a long pass on the left side of Southampton and passed Chamberlain, who was pressing him with an extremely beautiful and elegant move. Chamberlain immediately chased Henderson, and Guran also quickly double-teamed Henderson. Henderson saw the opportunity and made a long arc pass while running, sending the ball to Southampton's penalty area. Southampton's central defender JD jumped high and headed the ball to defend. Although JD touched the ball, he failed to hit the right part, and the football fell to the top of the arc outside the penalty area. Asamoah Gyan picked up the ball and made a feint to force his way in between JD and Font. Davis attacked to block. Facing Davis' attack, Gyan calmly towed and pushed the ball into the far corner of the goal. Davis quickly fell to the ground to intercept, but it was too late. The ball went in. Sunderland took the lead again through a simple and rough play of passing from both wings. The Black Cats at the Stadium of Light cheered wildly. The score on the big screen at the Stadium of Light was immediately rewritten as Sunderland 3:2 Southampton. The scores of the two teams rose alternately. Sunderland still clearly had the advantage and initiative. Henderson, who broke through the wing, contributed greatly to this goal. In addition, JD's clearance error was also the main reason for Southampton's loss of the ball. But in this case, JD was already trying his best to touch the ball. The players of Southampton encouraged each other and then re-entered the game. As time went on, the physical fitness of both teams began to decline. Sunderland's physical fitness declined more significantly. Their main players had just played a fierce Premier League game 3 days ago, and Zenden and Malbranque in their team were not in good physical condition. Today's game was such a high-intensity confrontation. After more than 70 minutes of the game, they were obviously unable to run. The main players of Southampton rested for more than half a month, and also carried out very targeted training. Therefore, when the game lasted more than 70 minutes, the players of Southampton were still full of energy. Seeing that Sunderland could hardly launch a decent offensive sprint, Southampton quickly turned the tables and began to press high throughout the game, forcing Sunderland to make mistakes. The two teams were also full of gunpowder. Catamol received a yellow card for pushing Guran from behind. Then, Mikel also received a yellow card for retaliating against Catamol. The game was in the 79th minute. Guran passed the ball to Schneiderlin on the right, and then he sprinted towards the middle with all his strength. Catamol, who was responsible for marking Guran, could not keep up with Guran's speed. After Schneiderlin got the ball, he easily passed Zenden, the former world's #1 winger, who was already exhausted, and then quickly passed the ball to Guran, who had already moved to the middle before Badsley flew over. Guran stopped the ball perfectly and rushed towards Sunderland's penalty area. Anton Ferdinand and Marcus Angela double-teamed Guran. Guran didn't even use a fake move to dribble past the opponent, but directly accelerated and rushed forward. Under the double team, he forced a world wave long shot. Chapter 529. The card-eating master is indeed worthy of his reputation. Barry Bugin is indeed worthy of his reputation. This kick was extremely domineering. Although Mignolet was considered the top young goalkeeper in Europe, with a reaction as sharp as a nerve knife, Mignolet never expected that Guran's shot would be so simple and crude, and completely unreasonable. Mignolet was obviously only 0.1 seconds slower in reaction, and the football was domineeringly and fiercely shot into the net. The ball went in. Guran forced a shot and scored. The score on the big screen of the Stadium of Light was immediately rewritten as Sunderland 3:3 Southampton. Southampton tied the score again. Guran's goal was so inspiring. It was so shocking. This goal also completely changed the situation on the field. Now, it is not Southampton that is passive, but Sunderland. As a mid-level Premier League team, it holds a large number of Manchester United resources, but it ended up fighting so badly with a League One team. The game continued, Sunderland was impatient, and its actions became more violent. In the 84th minute, Guran passed the ball to Schneiderlin on the right again. This position is Sunderland's weak area. Sunderland's left forward is Zenden, and Zenden is obviously no longer as brave as he used to be. Schneiderlin's speed is not a fast horse at all, but it is easy to break through Zenden with speed. Guran also saw this point and kept passing the ball to his right side, which is Sunderland's left side. Zenden's physical fitness was originally very poor. After a few times, Sunderland's left side almost collapsed. This time, Schneiderlin received the ball and prepared to break through Zenden with speed again, but the Dutchman, who was angry and embarrassed, hugged Schneiderlin's waist directly and threw Schneiderlin to the ground with a judo hug. Schneiderlin immediately covered his waist and rolled back and forth on the grass in pain. The Southampton players quickly surrounded Zenden and pushed Zenden aggressively. The Sunderland players also rolled up their sleeves and pushed and shoved with the Southampton players. The two sides were on the verge of a fight. Fortunately, the referee intervened with a whistle at this time. The referee gave Zenden a yellow card, Malbranck a yellow card, and Formkeelen a yellow card, and then gave Lambert and Richardson of Southampton a yellow card each. After this wave of conflict, both sides were beaten 50 times. The fans of Southampton and Newcastle were quite dissatisfied with the referee's decision. After all, Zenden's judo moves should definitely be sent off with a red card, but the referee was blind and only gave him a yellow card. The players of Southampton also surrounded the referee and put pressure on him, but the referee still insisted on the original decision. Southampton also got a free kick near the side. This free kick was at least 45 meters away from the goal, and the angle was extremely biased. In daily training, Guran still had some confidence that he could score directly with a crescent moon knife, but in the high-intensity competition, especially when the opponent was the goalkeeper mini, such a long distance and biased shot would most likely be blocked. Guran stood in front of the penalty spot, carefully glanced at the position of the goal and the human wall, then took 3 steps back, took a deep breath, sprinted, and kicked the ball out. The football was like an electromagnetically powered cannonball, shooting straight into the far corner of the goal. Mignolet was very well prepared and focused. Almost at the same time as Guran kicked, Mignolet had already predicted the line of the arc ball, stretched his arms, and jumped at the same time, but when the football flew in front of the human wall, it suddenly began to fall rapidly. Mignolet was shocked. Guran predicted his prediction. This is not a shot, but a high-quality pass disguised as a shot. The high school defender JD, who was mixed in the human wall, jumped high and shook his head at the falling football line. The football immediately bounced out a zigzag line and hit the diagonal line of the goal. Mignolet was powerless to save the situation. The ball went in. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. JD, who scored the goal, ran towards Guran excitedly, slid to his knees at Guran's feet, and hugged Guran's thighs tightly. JD had made a mistake in intercepting the header before, but Guran's goal completely saved him. The score on the big screen of the Stadium of Light was immediately rewritten as Sunderland 3:4 Southampton. Southampton is leading. Southampton fans and Newcastle fans in the stands cheered wildly. For them, this is the most exciting moment. Now, the pressure has been given to Sunderland. There is not much time left for Sunderland. and Sunderland's physical fitness is far inferior to Southampton. Wanting to tie the score in a few minutes and then play overtime, just thinking about it gives Sunderland a headache. The game continues. Sunderland began to attack more crazily. Head coach Stephen Bruce's on-the-spot command seemed a little impatient and chaotic, and this emotion was also passed on to Sunderland players. Sunderland relied on Henderson's efforts and launched several waves of threatening side cross attacks in succession. But Welbeck's footwork was too rough. He either couldn't get the ball or lost it after dribbling. The fourth official held up a sign and announced that there would be 5 minutes of injury time. In the 92nd minute, Sunderland's front court pass was intercepted by Mikel, who made a long pass to Guran near the center circle. Guran knocked away Malbranque, who was defending him, and dribbled the ball straight into Sunderland's penalty area. Catamol slid over from behind and shoved fiercely on Guran's heel. Guran lost his balance and fell into the penalty area. The Southampton fans and Newcastle fans at the scene booed angrily. Catamol also knew that he had made a big mistake, and he covered his head and waited for the referee's decision. The referee showed Catamol a second yellow card. Then a penalty was awarded. Catamol's 2 yellow cards turned into a red card, and he was sent off. The master of eating cards is indeed worthy of his reputation. Similarly, Benny Bugen is also worthy of his reputation. Southampton's team doctor, Mafe, rushed into the field to examine and bandage the injured Guran. Sunderland's players wanted Guran to leave the field for treatment, but Guran said that he had to take the penalty kick himself, so he could not leave the field for treatment. Southampton's players took the opportunity to replenish water. Sunderland's players could only anxiously wait for the judgment of fate. Theoretically, Mignolet's penalty saving skills are still very strong. But the problem is that, even if Mignolet can save this penalty, Sunderland is still 1 goal behind Southampton. Southampton must be trying their best to delay time at this time. Delaying time is also a kind of tactical system. After Mafe bandaged Guran's heel wound, Guran drank a few sips of electrolyte sweet root water that Rowena had prepared for him, and then stood up from the grass in high spirits. The goddess of victory has opened her eyes. Chapter 530 Hengdao, Gu, are you praising me or yourself? Guran stood at the penalty spot in the penalty area and placed the ball carefully. Mignolet on the opposite side lowered his center of gravity with a tense face, ready to save at any time. All the fans in the stadium held their breath. Can Guran kill the suspense with 1 goal, or leave the Black Cat a breath? Everyone waited nervously. This was also the first time that Guran took a penalty kick in an official match. The skills of taking a penalty kick and a free kick are different. The most important thing about a penalty kick is the mental quality at the spiritual level, followed by the technique of taking a penalty kick. When Guran was taking a penalty kick, he deliberately glanced at the left side of the goal several times, as if he was going to shoot to the left. In Mignolet's view, this trick was meaningless. A goalkeeper of Mignolet's level would not be deceived by Guran's eyes, but at the same time, Mignolet would not think that Guran would shoot in the opposite direction. Mignolet would only use his nervous reaction to make a save at the moment Guran kicked. Guran took 3 steps back, then sprinted at full speed, and volleyed the ball with the outside of his left foot. Mignolet subconsciously fell to the right side of the goal. Guran volleyed the ball with the outside of his left foot and shot it towards the lower left corner of the goal with lightning speed. Guran deceived Mignolet with the outside of his left foot. The ball went into the net with great force. The referee indicated that the goal was valid. The Southampton fans and Newcastle fans at the scene all cheered wildly. The Black Cats fans were stunned, holding their heads, and couldn't believe the result. Guran's goal killed the suspense of the game. Sunderland didn't have to play overtime because they had been kicked back home by Southampton. Guran completed a hat-trick. This was Guran's first penalty goal. The score on the big screen of the Stadium of Light was immediately rewritten as Sunderland 3:5 Southampton. The Southampton players hugged Guran excitedly. Guran once again showed his saviour strength like the Son of God. Southampton will advance to the 7th round of the FA Cup, which is the semi-final of the FA Cup. At the beginning of this season, who would have thought that this team, which was originally in the middle of the English League One, could rise all the way and kill gods in various ways. The game is not over yet, but it is no different from the end. The game is suspended, with a maximum of 1.5 minutes left, and Sunderland must score 2 goals to equalise the score. Playing overtime with Southampton is undoubtedly impossible for Sunderland, who is already physically exhausted, mentally broken, and 1 man less on the field. After the game continued, only Henderson was still running and attacking desperately. The other Sunderland players were numb. Beep, beep, beep. With the referee's 3 whistles, the 6th round of the FA Cup knockout match is over. Southampton, playing away from home, equalised the score 3 times, after falling behind 3 times, and achieved a 2-goal lead in the last few minutes, eliminating the originally powerful Sunderland team. When the final whistle sounded, the Southampton players and staff on the bench all rushed into the field frantically, cheering and celebrating with the players on the field. The players of the Sunderland team shook their heads and sighed helplessly, especially the young Henderson, who lay on the grass and covered his face and cried bitterly. In this game, Henderson tried his best, but most of his abilities were locked by Guran, so he didn't perform particularly well. Henderson was full of self-blame for this defeat. He felt that, if he was stronger, perhaps the result would not be like this. When Henderson was crying sadly, a big hand like iron slapped him heavily on the shoulder. Henderson raised his tear-stained eyes, and then he was stunned. Guran squatted in front of him with a smile. "Hi, Henderson, you played great today." Henderson couldn't control his anger for a moment. "Damn it. Gu. You've already won. Are you going to catch up with me to humiliate me?" Guran shrugged. "No, you misunderstood. I'm not trying to humiliate you. I really think you played great. You know, I've played against world-class players like Lampard, Gerrard, Fabregas, Torres, Van der Vaart, Modric, and it's difficult for them to play to their full potential in front of me. So from this point of view, you're really good." Henderson was stunned. "Are you praising me or yourself?" Guran laughed. "Of course I'm praising you." Henderson wiped away his tears. "Well, although the angle from which you're praising me is very novel, I do feel a lot better after listening to it. Oh my god, am I on the same level as Lampard, Gerrard, Fabregas, Torres, Van der Vaart, Modric and others?" Guran smiled and said, "Are you very happy?" Henderson nodded, then said angrily, "No, you eliminated me." Guran smiled and said, "It's not me who eliminated you, it's me who eliminated you all." Henderson said, "That's even more serious." Guran smiled and said, No, the reason why you were eliminated is because Sunderland's overall level is not strong enough. A promising young player like you should join a top team earlier so that you can get more experience." Henderson's eyes suddenly lit up. "Do you mean I should go to Manchester United?" Guran shook his head. "No, you should go to a team that pays you a high salary, because only by paying you a high salary can they show that they really value you." Henderson nodded in conviction. "You are right, but based on my performance in today's game, I don't know which top team is willing to pay me a high salary." Guran smiled and said, "There will be clubs that will recognize your talent." Henderson suddenly frowned again and said, "You are still teaching me, but didn't you go to a top team yourself?" Guran smiled and said, "I want to gain more experience and lay a solid foundation. In short, this season is about to end. I hope you can cheer up from this defeat as soon as possible and meet a wealthy team that appreciates you." After that, Guran patted Henderson on the shoulder and turned to walk over. "Wait." Henderson frowned and stopped Guran. Guran turned around and asked, "Is there anything else?" Henderson stared at Guran. "What I want to say is, thank you, brother. Do you want to exchange jerseys?" Guran smiled and said, "Take it off." The two took off their jerseys and exchanged them. Seeing that the jerseys were exchanged, the Southampton fans almost hated Henderson to death. After the Southampton team finished thanking the game, they returned to the locker room to celebrate for a while, then took a shower and took a car to leave the Stadium of Light and chartered a plane back to Southampton. As soon as he got off the plane, Guran received a text message of affectionate greetings from Linda, the wife of Liverpool's boss. Chapter 531 Henderson, "I'm not that kind of person." Henderson, Liverpool, "I'm yours." Liverpool's boss Linda sent a message to congratulate Guran for leading Southampton to the 7th round of the FA Cup and asked Guran when it would be convenient for them to chat on the phone. Duran received text messages like this almost every time after a game. Linda was really persistent throughout the season, and her greetings were never absent. In the past, Duran always replied politely with a thank you, and then stopped talking. But this time, Duran replied, "Okay, let's chat tonight." Linda on the other end of the phone thought she had read it wrong. Linda quickly replied, "Okay, okay. Waiting for your call." After leaving the airport, Duran drove back to the Dune Villa. After the ice and fire therapy, Duran lay comfortably on the bed and talked to Linda on the phone. The two did not talk about anything else, just a few greetings and compliments to each other. After chatting for a while, Duran suddenly changed the subject. "Linda, this season is about to end. I wonder if you, Liverpool, have any plans in the transfer market?" Linda on the other end of the phone was so excited that her breathing became rapid. "Oh, go. You finally took the initiative to me. This is the first time you have been so proactive in such a long time." Ahem. Duran cleared his throat. "Linda, I'm asking about the transfer." Linda said excitedly, "Yes. This is what I'm most looking forward to." "Goo. To be honest, we at Liverpool are fully prepared to sign you to Liverpool. As long as you come, I can meet any of your conditions." "Any?" Duran hurriedly said. No, Linda, you misunderstood. I just want to know your plan to buy players." Linda immediately replied, "Do I need to ask this? Our top plan is to dig you over." Duran said, "But I will not leave until I bring Southampton to the Premier League." Linda on the other end of the phone was suddenly disappointed. "Boo, you are such a bad guy. You just gave me hope and then took it away immediately. You are so bad." Duran suddenly felt his bones go soft, but Duran still changed the subject. "Linda, apart from me, Liverpool has no other plans for the new season?" Linda sighed. "Our results this season are very poor. We are temporarily ranked 6th. We are being chased fiercely by Everton. It is hard to say whether we can keep our qualification for the Europa League. Next season, we do need to make changes in personnel, but we don't have a good idea yet." Duran smiled and said, "I have a suggestion for a candidate. Do you want to hear it?" Linda hurriedly said, "Do you recommend one to us, Liverpool?" "Yes." "Ah. Of course your recommendation is good, but I want you more." Duran smiled and said, "Linda, listen to me first. The person I recommend to you is Sunderland's star player, Jordan Henderson. I just played against him today. He is very strong." Linda said, "No matter how strong he is, can he be stronger than you? However, if you recommended him, I think I will let Edwards observe him." Duran said, if you think he is not bad after observing him, can you loan him to our Southampton team after buying him?" "Ah." Linda on the other end of the phone was a little stunned, but she quickly understood. "Great. Go. Now I understand why you want to recommend players for us, Liverpool. It turned out that you wanted it." Duran smiled. "Linda, you can't say that. Think about it in a positive way. I'm helping you, Liverpool, to cultivate talents. After all, I just want a loan, but in the end Henderson is still your Liverpool, and he is Henderson who has been honed with me." Of course Linda heard the meaning of these words, and she immediately said, "Boo, I understand. I will let Edwards observe Henderson carefully. If we can dig him to Liverpool, we will definitely convince him to be loaned to Southampton and play with you. I will give you an answer to this matter as soon as possible." Duran smiled and said, "Okay Linda, you made the right choice for Liverpool. Originally, Henderson would also transfer to Liverpool, and Duran just brought the time forward. Henderson joining Liverpool is indeed of great help to Liverpool." Linda was not in a hurry to hang up the phone, but said in a coquettish voice, "So, if I succeed in this, how will you repay me?" Duran said, "Repay? Yes, I spent money and rented it to Southampton. You got the benefit, shouldn't you repay me? Well, whether this matter succeeds or not, I will treat you to a meal." "That's right. Then we have a deal." "Okay, it's a deal." The two chatted for a few more irrelevant nonsense before hanging up the phone. The next day, Southampton had a holiday, but Duran still got up early for extra training. That afternoon, Jordan Henderson, who had not yet recovered from the shadow of defeat, received a strange call. "Hello. Who is this?" Hello, Mr. Henderson. I'm Liverpool's chief scout. My name is Michael Edwards. Are you interested in playing for the Reds? Henderson held the phone in his hand, stunned. Yesterday at the end of the game, Guran had just told him that he should go to a wealthy club to play, but he didn't expect that the wealthy club would really call him the next day. I don't know. I'm actually not mentally prepared at all. It's okay, Mr. Henderson. I've seen your game. Although you're not as good as Guran in the game, that's Guran. It's normal for you to be suppressed by Guran. You're so young, but you can still make 2 assists under Guran's suppression. This data is already very impressive. Moreover, it was Guran who personally recommended you to our Liverpool. Henderson took a deep breath. Gu actually recommended me to Liverpool. Gu is so nice. But I was trained by Sunderland. I can't just leave like that. I'm not that kind of person. Edwards on the other end of the phone said, Mr. Henderson, I know you were trained by Sunderland Youth Training, and I also know that Sunderland's salary for you is very low, only £5,000 a week. If you are willing to transfer to Liverpool, we can give you £50,000, and this number can be negotiated. Oh my god. Henderson's voice trembled with excitement. When can we sign the contract? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 532 FA Cup Semi-Final. Opponent, Liverpool. Edwards on the other end of the phone smiled and said, don't worry. After all, we have to finish the remaining games of this season. However, as long as Mr. Henderson has this intention, we can discuss some specific details. In addition, we in Liverpool also have a small condition. Henderson asked quickly, what condition? Edwards said, it's like this, because you were recommended to our Liverpool by Guran. Guran asked that in the first season after your transfer to Liverpool, you must be loaned to Southampton and play in the Europa League with Guran. After 1 season, you can officially return to Liverpool. Henderson immediately said, of course there is no problem with this. With such a high weekly salary, and being able to fight side by side with Guran in the Europa League, I'm very willing. You know, Sunderland, where Henderson is located, has the best result in recent years of ranking 9th in the Premier League. In the past few years, it was still struggling in the Championship. To go to a Championship team, to gain experience in the first year, after transferring to a giant, this is not a problem at all for Henderson, whose starting point is not high, not to mention that he can play in the Europa League. If Henderson stays in Sunderland, he will not have the chance to play in the Europa League. Edwards on the other end of the phone smiled and said, very good, then we have a deal. I will have someone issue the details of the transfer and loan as soon as possible. After the season is over, we Liverpool will talk to you Sunderland about the transfer, but now, you still have to keep it secret. Henderson immediately said, of course. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Edwards smiled and said, you're welcome. If you want to thank someone, thank Guran. After hanging up the phone, Henderson clenched his fists excitedly, and the depression of losing yesterday was swept away. I can transfer to Liverpool. I can be loaned to Guran and play football with Guran. I can fight side by side with Guran in the Europa League. That afternoon, Linda called Guran specifically and told Guran that Henderson was willing to transfer and loan. Guran didn't expect Liverpool's efficiency to be so fast. With Henderson next season, Southampton's midfield will be even stronger. After strengthening the backline, they can play in the Europa League. After agreeing with Linda to go to her home in London for dinner before the end of the month, Guran hung up the phone and continued to practice. On Wednesday, March 16th, the 35th round of the English League One was rekindled, and Southampton played against Carlisle United at home. Almost all of Southampton's main players were rested, and this was another matchup with almost all substitutes. In the end, Southampton defeated Carlisle United 2-1 with Ward-Prowse's pass and one shot. This game also gave Southampton substitutes a great experience. The record of the substitute lineup is no longer a complete defeat. On the afternoon of Saturday, March 19th, The 36th round of the English League One, Southampton's away challenge to Brighton began. In this game, Southampton sent out a half set of the main lineup with Guran as the captain. Guran and Walton Prowse played very smoothly in their first cooperation. In the end, Southampton won the game 4-2. Then, on Wednesday, March 23rd, in the 37th round of the English League One, Southampton played against Charlton at home. Guran continued to start and led the other half of the team to play. Charlton was abused for 70 minutes until Guran was replaced by Adkins and finally breathed a sigh of relief. In the end, the score was fixed at Southampton 7-1 Charlton. After the game, Guran was also put on the rest list for the next game by coach Adkins. This means that Guran's games this month have all ended, and he can rest well and prepare for the next month's schedule. Personal Affairs assistant Rick sent the April schedule. The first game, at 3 p.m. on Sunday, March 4th, the final of the English Championship Pioneer Winners' Cup. Southampton will face Huddersfield Town as the home team at the neutral Wembley Stadium. The second match is at 7:45 p.m. on Wednesday, April 6th. In the 39th round of the English League One, Southampton will challenge Oldham away. The third match is at 3 p.m. on Saturday, April 9th. In the 40th round of the English League One, Southampton will challenge Hartlepool away. The fourth match is at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, April 13th. In the 41st round of the English League One, Southampton will host Leyton Orient. The fifth match is at 4 p.m. on Sunday, April 17th. In the FA Cup quarter-finals, Southampton will challenge Liverpool as a guest team at the neutral Wembley Stadium. The sixth match is at 7:45 p.m. on Wednesday, April 20th. In the 42nd round of the English League One, Southampton will host Bristol Rovers. The seventh match is at 3 p.m. on Monday, April 25th. In the 43rd round of the English League One, Southampton will host Yeovil Town. The eighth match, at 3 p.m. on Saturday, April 1930. In the 44th round of the English League One, Southampton will face Dagenham at home. In addition, there are two remaining English League One matches, which will be held in May. After entering May, in addition to the two English League One matches, there is only one FA Cup final left, and all the official matches of this season have been completed. Throughout April, the games are still very dense, but in fact, the really important ones are the final of the English Championship and the semi-finals of the FA Cup. The final of the English Championship is played against Huddersfield Town, which is also a team in the English League One. There is almost no suspense in this game. The FA Cup semi-final with Liverpool is the top priority. Liverpool's state this season is very poor. The previous head coach Hodgson has been dismissed. Liverpool temporarily found King Kenny Dalglish to coach. Under Dalglish's command, Liverpool has regained the feeling of the Iron Red Army and won 3 consecutive victories in the Premier League, but it has fallen too far behind. So near the end of the season, Liverpool is still struggling near the 6th place. Therefore, Liverpool will definitely go all out for the FA Cup semi-finals. Only by winning the FA Cup can they give an account to the fans this season. And Southampton will naturally not miss the opportunity to win the FA Cup again after 35 years. On the weekend of March 26th, there were no events, and Guran drove to Linda's home in London. Linda's mansion is in the villa area of the wealthy area of Fulham, and the environment is very good. When Guran arrived by car, Linda, wearing a red dress, ran out happily from the French courtyard and hugged Guran warmly. "Oh, Gu, I finally saw you." Guran hurriedly said politely, "Good afternoon, Linda, where is your husband?" Chapter 533 Guran, "Ms. Linda, what are you doing?" Linda chuckled. Originally when he heard you were coming, he wanted to fly over to have dinner with you, but something happened to him at the last minute, so his private plane flew directly to Little St. James Island." Little St. James Island? The name sounds familiar. Guran immediately asked, "Is it the private island that Epstein bought?" Linda laughed. "Why, you know that island too?" Guran quickly said, "It's like thunder in my ears." "Linda, have you been there?" Linda shrugged. "No, I just heard that the island is a tourist destination for the rich, and it's not a place for ordinary rich people to go. Only people with very high status can go there. People like me are not qualified to go there, but it doesn't matter." I'm not really interested in traveling. I prefer to run my football club. Duran breathed a sigh of relief. It's best not to go. But your husband. Duran hesitated whether to tell Linda about the Lolita Island, but after thinking about it, it's better not to tell such things. No one will take the truth as the truth when the truth is told without evidence, but it will cause trouble. What happened to my husband? Oh, nothing. It's a pity that he's not at home. Otherwise, I'll come back another day. Duran had already had the idea of leaving. After all, it's not appropriate for the hostess to meet when the hostess is not at home. Linda smiled and took Duran's arm enthusiastically and said, "Don't worry about him. I'm the owner of Liverpool, and we can just talk about transfers and loans. Come in and talk." Come on. Linda's chest pressed against Duran's arm, and Duran felt numb all over. Oh, Linda, it's not appropriate. It's really not appropriate, really. While refusing, Duran was led into the mansion by Linda. Although Duran can fight 2 or 3 strong men on the court, for some reason, he can't beat Linda's chest at this moment. The mansion was clean and tidy, with no one inside. A banquet for 2 was ready, and 2 romantic candles were lit. This was not a family dinner, it was a tryst. Duran hurriedly asked, "Linda, where are your servants? There shouldn't be a servant in such a big villa, right?" Linda giggled and said seductively, "Of course there are servants, but before you came, I had given them all a holiday. Now, there are only 2 of us in the mansion. Damn. Isn't this too bad?" Duran felt a little uncomfortable and wanted to pull his arm back, but Linda held him tightly in her arms. "Goo, you're a little nervous." "No, Linda, it's you. Ahem, a little nervous." Linda laughed so hard that her body shook. "You're so annoying. Goo. I'm a married woman, and you're flirting with me." She said she was annoying and punched Duran's chest a few times with her fists, but Linda's expression was extremely enjoyable. The atmosphere in the whole mansion became very ambiguous because of Linda's giggling. Duran couldn't help but secretly complain in her heart, "Big sister, you still know that you are a married woman. Although your husband is doing that kind of thing behind your back on Lolly Island, we can't do this. I'm here to discuss the lease." Duran cleared his throat. "Linda, you may have misunderstood. Let's sit down and talk business." Linda turned her eyes and said, "Okay, but you have to wait first. I have to change my clothes." Duran nodded quickly. "Okay. In high-end occasions abroad, the hostess will wear a more formal dress when welcoming guests, and change into a comfortable banquet dress when eating. After dinner, when dancing, she will change into a dress suitable for dancing. This is called aristocratic style." Duran also hoped that Linda would let him go, so that his weak physique could take a break. "Wait for me." Obediently, Linda stood on tiptoe, blew a breath of fragrance into Duran's ear, and then quickly pecked Duran on the cheek. Duran suddenly felt that the hot blood in his body was about to erupt uncontrollably, especially looking at Linda's twisting waist with a very obvious waist-to-hip ratio. Duran wanted to rush up and knock Linda to the ground from behind. However, Duran held back. As the saying goes, a friend's wife is a polite thing to do, and one should not bully her. I, Duran, am a serious person. The education I received since childhood does not allow me to do such improper things. Although I often did improper things before, it was not entirely my fault. But then again, Henry who ran to Lolly Island should not be considered my friend, right? Yes, he is not. But this does not affect my efforts to be a serious person. Duran let out a long sigh of relief, sat at the dining table, and looked at the dishes on the table. Large oysters with Lancashire lemon juice, roasted lamb loin with Yorkshire patches, large Maine mackerel lobster, beef pie, French foie gras with deer antler truffles. What the hell is this for? No, it's too dangerous, too dangerous. Duran stood up and prepared to say goodbye, and saw Linda wearing a simple maid outfit, walking down the stairs. This maid outfit is very European, but there is very little fabric, and it can be seen that there is nothing inside. In this situation, coupled with a table full of special dishes, even a fool would know what Linda meant. Duran swallowed unconsciously. Linda, you. Linda's eyes were as charming as silk. Boo, don't you want a servant? I will serve you personally. Duran hurriedly said, how can this be so embarrassing? Linda hooked one hand on Guran's neck and said with a face full of resentment, "You can be so embarrassed with that no sister in Chelsea. Why should you be embarrassed with me? Shit. Has the affair between me and no sister been exposed?" Guran hurriedly said, "Linda, listen to me. I actually..." But Linda said, "No sister has aborted 2 babies for you. Why can't I do the same?" Guran was stunned. "Linda, did you read this news from the Sun?" Linda chuckled. "What else?" Guran breathed a sigh of relief. "You scared me. I thought the truth was exposed." Of course, even if the truth came out, it wouldn't matter. After all, it had nothing to do with Linda. However, as the leaders of their respective clubs, Linda and Sister No only had a competitive relationship. If Linda really knew that Sister No had slept with him, she would go crazy tonight. For her own safety, Guran decided to continue to conceal it. Chapter 534. Linda, come on, finish this cup. There are still 3 cups to go. Linda. Guran tried to take his eyes off Linda's cool maid outfit. "I came here today. Actually I want to talk to you about the rental." Linda laughed so hard. "Boo. Why are you hesitating?" Guran quickly explained. "I'm not hesitating." Linda smiled and said, "Look how nervous you are. You're sweating." "Oh, God, you're so cute. Come on, I'll help you take off your coat so you don't catch a cold later." As she said that, Linda started to take off Guran's coat. Guran quickly said, "Linda, don't, I'll do it myself. I'll do it myself." But Linda said coquettishly, "I'm your exclusive maid tonight. If you don't let me do my job, I'll be sad." Guran's mouth twitched slightly. "Big sister, how can you be sad at all? You are simply a female SP." Guran grabbed Linda's hand. "You've taken off your coat. If you take it off again, you'll be shirtless." Linda chuckled. "Don't be afraid, it's not cold in my house." Guran said helplessly, "Linda, I'd better wear it." Linda shrugged. "You're really conservative. Okay, let's eat first." As she said that, Linda took Guran's hand without saying anything and led Guran back to his seat and sat down. "Eat first. After eating, you'll have the strength to do things." "What kind of thing do I need to eat such a meal? Besides, Linda, you look down on me. I'm only 18 years old. Do I need to eat this stuff?" Just when Guran was powerless to complain, Linda opened a bottle of expensive red wine and sat directly on Guran's lap. This move was too bold. Especially for a married woman like Linda, this feeling was really an unprecedented excitement. Guran only felt his blood surging, almost to the point where he couldn't control that 18 years old is a double-edged sword. Linda put one arm around Guran's tense neck, half of her body pressed against Guran, and her half-covered chest almost touched Guran's face. Linda took the opportunity to pour Guran a glass of red wine and handed it to Guran's lips. "Come on, have a drink first. This is not feeding wine, it's simply feeding milk." The atmosphere of love in the restaurant has been brought to the extreme by Linda. Guran swallowed hard. "Linda, I don't drink." Linda smiled. Her eyes were as charming as silk. "It's okay, I'll drink it for you." As she said that, Linda took a sip from the wine glass. Her raised neck was like velvet, and her drinking movements were extremely elegant and beautiful, but Guran's eyes always stayed on the deep beauty of the valley, and it was difficult to pull them out. Just when Guran was slightly stunned, Linda suddenly hugged Guran's cheek, and then mouth to mouth delivered the sweet wine to Guran's mouth. Guran was stunned. On the court, Guran's reaction was extremely fast and his anticipation ability was extremely strong. However, when Linda sat on his lap, he was completely unable to react. Linda looked at the stunned expression on Guran's face, and her heart was also extremely satisfied. Linda wiped the red wine stains from the corners of Guran's mouth with her fingers and smiled affectionately. "Is it sweet? This wine should be sour and astringent when it enters the mouth. Only after being stirred by the tip of the tongue can it form a sweet taste. I will leave the sourness to myself and dedicate the sweetness to you." Damn, Guran felt that his head was completely blown away by Linda. How many men in the world can resist this kind of seductive means? That's me. I can still resist. Guran swallowed the sweet wine in his mouth. "Linda, we can't do this." Linda giggled, took another sip, and then held Guran's cheek again, feeding the sweet wine to Guran mouth to mouth. Not to mention, this red wine really didn't have a sour taste and was replaced by the sweet aftertaste of the flesh. After Guran swallowed it, he said, "Linda, we can't do this." Linda chuckled again, took another big sip, then held Guran's cheeks again and fed the sweet wine to Guran mouth to mouth. Guran said, "Linda, we really can't do this." Linda laughed coquettishly. "You're annoying. You're saying we can't do this, but you're still touching me." Guran looked down and saw that his hand had actually reached the top without him knowing it. "Damn it." Guran quickly let go and said awkwardly, "I actually wanted to push you away." Linda chuckled. "Oh, boo, you're so cute." As she said that, Linda held Guran's cheeks again and fed him mouth to mouth. Guran was still waiting for the sweet wine, but soon realized that this time he really took a bite. He didn't know how long he had been doing it. The two finally separated panting. Guran felt his mouth full of alcohol, and a nerve on his temple was throbbing wildly. He was completely out of control of his body. Fortunately, as a serious person, he still has some reason. Guran cleared his throat. "You forgot to hold the wine in your mouth just now." Linda chuckled. "Yeah, it's my fault. Let's do it again." "No, no, no." Guran hurriedly stopped Linda. "I can't drink anymore. I drove here. If I drink more, I can't drive." When Linda heard this, her eyes lit up. "Then have another drink." "No, no, I really can't drink anymore. Just one drink, and we can discuss everything after drinking." "No, no, I'll be drunk. It's better to be drunk. Just sleep here when you're drunk." Damn, this. Foreign countries are too hospitable, right? Before Guran could react, Linda held the wine glass and poured it directly into Guran's mouth. Guran had the strength to fight 3 strong men, but he couldn't resist Linda's wholehearted persuasion to drink. Linda clapped her hands happily and said, "Wow. Gu, you really have a good alcohol tolerance. Come on, I'll pour you another glass." Guran said, "Linda, we agreed to only have one glass." Linda filled the glass without hesitation. "Finish this glass. This is the last glass. After drinking, let's talk about the real business of the lease." "Okay, after drinking one glass, do you still care about one more glass?" Guran picked up the glass and drank it all. Linda then poured Guran a third glass. "Come on, finish this glass. There are still 3 glasses." Guran, "Today, I can be considered to have broken the rules. Although I have drunk alcohol when I was partying with my teammates before, the alcohol content of those drinks was not high, and I only tasted them lightly. But today, I drank freely." Linda is really a little goblin who can tame people. Even as a reborn person, I'm very serious in my heart, but I can't stand Linda's taunting. I'm afraid I have to hand it over tonight. Chapter 535. Linda, who is better, me or Sister No? The two drank one glass of wine after another. They had not even eaten much of the meal when they had already finished 2 bottles of expensive red wine. Fortunately, Guran had a good physique, so this little bit of wine would not really make him drunk, let alone delay the business. The business was to finalize the loan of Henderson with Linda. Now, Henderson has agreed to transfer to Liverpool, and Liverpool and Sunderland have also agreed on the transfer amount, £15 million. This transfer fee is at least twice the premium of Henderson's current worth. Obviously, Linda was able to approve such a transfer amount just for Guran's request. And the more this is the case, the higher Linda's demands on Guran will naturally be. After all, this is not a world where helping others is fun, and everything has a price. Guran also knew that Linda's ultimate goal was to dig him to Liverpool, and even tonight's flirtation was to grasp Guran and make him agree to transfer to Liverpool in a fit of excitement. But Guran is a man who can't be held with both hands. No matter what Linda said, Guran did not agree to transfer to Liverpool in the future. Guran even touched Linda's chest while talking to her about the loan. Linda was curious about why Guran was so good to the Southampton club. Guran naturally did not hide the truth and told Linda that he was actually the major shareholder behind Southampton. Linda suddenly realized it, and her eyes on Guran became even hotter. Linda naturally agreed to Guran's request for a loan. After all, for Liverpool, getting along well with Guran, Southampton is getting along well with Guran, which is a very good investment. After dinner, Linda kindly invited Guran to visit her bedroom, but Guran said that he was a serious person and declined politely. However, after drinking so much alcohol, he really couldn't drive home, so Guran could only stay at Linda's house and find a guest room to rest. Not long after lying down, Linda came to Guran's guest room in a red suspender nightgown. Guran sat up suddenly. "Linda, what are you doing?" Linda said with a seductive look. "Master, the maid Linda is here to warm the bed." "Damn. There is such a project." "Oh, no, no. I'm a serious person." Guran cleared his throat. "Come up." Linda chuckled and climbed up. At this time, Guran was not polite and took Linda in his arms. Linda asked, "Boo, I have a question and you must answer me truthfully." Guran performed the bra unbuttoning technique and said, "Go ahead and ask." Linda asked seriously, "You loaned Muckle from Chelsea before, didn't you also slept with Sister No?" "Ahem." Guran said innocently. "Linda, who do you think I am? Do you think I'm someone who sold my body in exchange for being loaned out?" Linda asked, "Is that you?" Guran said, "No. Although I did slept with Sister No." Linda's brows immediately frowned. "I knew it. Sister No is that bitch. She actually took advantage of you when you wanted to rent milk. How should I put it? It's not like Sister No took advantage of you." Guran said helplessly, "Linda, if you are not happy, then let's forget about it tonight." Linda continued to ask in annoyance, "Is she good?" Guran was stunned. "Very good." Linda bit her lip. "Okay, tonight, I will let you see what is really good." As she said that, Linda pounced on him like a female beast. The two immediately started a fierce confrontation. Over time, one after another. Until the next morning, Linda finally leaned tiredly and satisfied in Guran's arms. "Gu-HMM. Who is better, me or Sister No? You are good. You are good. If I don't say that Linda is good, not only today, I'm afraid that when Henry goes home tomorrow, Guran will not be able to leave this door." Linda breathed a sigh of relief and then asked a more soul-searching question. "Boo, do you like me more or Sister No more? What the hell? How to answer this? This is clearly a trap question. This is a disguised way of forcing me to admit that I like one of them." Guran suddenly had an idea. "What I like more is football." "Hate." Linda hit Guran's chest. "Okay, forget it. I won't ask you anymore. As long as you don't hate me. Gu, after you bring your Southampton into the Premier League, you will transfer to my Liverpool, right?" Guran smiled. "Linda, Sister No also asked me this question at the beginning. Do you know how I answered?" Linda opened her eyes wide and asked, "What did you say?" Guran smiled and said, "I said, one thing is one thing. I will not make a transfer decision because of what happened between us." Linda smiled. "You are right. Okay, I won't ask you about this matter. I just want you to understand that Liverpool is your destination." Guran smiled and said, "Our next far game is to play Liverpool." Linda smiled and said, "Of course I will support Liverpool, but I want you to know that in my heart, I only support you." Damn, this little mouth is too sweet. Must be rewarded. So the two played another overtime. It was not until that evening that Guran drove back to his Dune villa and returned to normal training and preparation. At 7:45 PM on March 30th, the 38th round of the English League One was rekindled, and Southampton played against Milton Keynes at home. Guran came on as a substitute in the game, in good competitive form, and contributed one pass and one shot. In the end, Southampton beat Milton Keynes 3-1 at home. At the end of the March game, Guran won the English League One Player of the Month. On April 2nd, Southampton went to Wembley Stadium in London again for an adaptive warm-up before the English Championship final. The staff of the Southampton club also booked a hotel for Southampton early. This is the second time Southampton has come to Wembley Stadium to play this year. And this time, Southampton is participating as a home team. The English Championship is a lower level FA Cup, so it is not very valuable. However, due to Guran's attention, this match was also sought after by many media, and 90,000 tickets were sold out early. On the morning of April 3rd, after a simple indoor training, the Southampton team left the hotel and took a bus to Wembley Stadium for a pre-match training session. At 1 PM, fans from both sides began to enter the stadium. Chapter 536. The Goddess of Victory is hooking her fingers. Southampton was the champion of the last English championship. Their opponent this time is Huddersfield Town, which is also a League One team. Huddersfield Town was defeated by Southampton, especially when Southampton is playing better and better this season. Huddersfield Town can no longer be compared with Southampton. Southampton has already secured the League One championship, while Huddersfield Town is currently ranked 4th in League One and needs to play a playoff with other teams to determine whether it can successfully impact the English championship. In this game, the media and bookmakers are more optimistic about Southampton. After the players of both sides came on the field to warm up, the game soon began with the cheers of 90,000 fans. First, Southampton kicked off. Huddersfield Town took a defensive stance in a 352 formation. Huddersfield Town's two wing-backs, Kevin Kilbane and Anthony Kay, both retreated to the backline. In the first 10 minutes, both sides played cautiously and tested each other. Southampton, under the instigation of Guran's passing, played 3 pleasing attacks, and Huddersfield also sent out 2 good counter-attacks through the running of the wing-backs. The two sides are temporarily evenly matched, but it is obvious that Southampton has more possession of the ball and Huddersfield pays more attention to defense. In the 13th minute, Guran dribbled the ball along the middle, and with his body, speed and flexible footwork, he passed the interception of 4 Huddersfield defenders, and passed the ball to Chamberlain, who cut inside. Chamberlain easily got the ball in the empty space, and then dribbled the ball to the left side of the penalty area and shot. However, the ball hit the goalpost. The Southampton fans at the scene wailed. Guran's running and interweaving of the ball was really beautiful, but it was a pity that Chamberlain's ability to seize opportunities was still far behind. The defensive players of Huddersfield Town were also scared out of their wits. Their head coach Paul Stevenson stood in the technical area of the visiting team and yelled at the players to keep pressing Guran and not let him pass the ball easily. But with these guys from Huddersfield Town, how could they stop Guran? In the 27th minute, Guran dribbled the ball on the right side of the midfield and played around with 3 Huddersfield Town defensive players. While the defensive players were not paying attention, Guran passed the ball to the right and accelerated to the middle. Schneiderlin, who got the ball on the right, saw the gap and dribbled the ball to the bottom, then directly made a reverse triangle pass. Guran, who was double-teamed by 2 tall central defenders, faced the flying football and flew directly into the air outside the penalty area, hooking sideways. The football was like an electromagnetically powered cannonball, bombarding the goal with a devastating force. Huddersfield Town goalkeeper Alex Smithers jumped up to save the ball. He missed. The football was shot into the net, and the huge impact made the goal tremble slightly. The referee immediately pointed his finger and punched, indicating that the goal was valid. On the big screen of Wembley Stadium, the game was immediately rewritten as Southampton 1:0 Huddersfield Town. The Southampton fans watching the game cheered wildly, and the stands were full of jumping people and waving Saints flags. The Southampton players on the field also hugged Guran and celebrated happily. Being able to use a shot like a golden hook in a big game definitely requires very strong skills and mentality. The game continues. Huddersfield Town, which lost a goal, continued to strengthen its defense, and even the 2 forwards retreated to their own half to help the midfielder defend and intercept. With the ball in hand, the Southampton team also pressed forward unceremoniously and launched a high-pressure defense against Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield Town's defense was very difficult. They knew very well that this was an important competition, so they must not take risks, and they must not be slaughtered by the Southampton team led by Guran in the competition. In the injury time of the first half, Southampton's wing attack was intercepted. Right wing back Anthony Kay made a long pass to the front court, and forward Jordan Rhodes immediately drove straight in and attacked alone. This is a rare offensive opportunity for Huddersfield Town. Rhodes shot directly from a long distance, but the linesman had raised the flag, indicating that Rhodes was offside in the position where he took the ball. The Terrier fans all held their heads and lamented. At the end of the first half, the score between the two sides was temporarily fixed at 1:0. Because Huddersfield Town adopted a bus-style defense, the scene in the first half was a little dull. But this did not affect the excitement of the fans. In a game like this final of a major competition, it is secondary to be good looking, and winning the game is the most important thing. After a 15-minute halftime break, the players of both sides returned to the court and changed sides to fight again. Huddersfield Town continued to park the bus near their own penalty area. Their tactics were very clear. They wanted to use Southampton's strategy to deal with Southampton. When Southampton was unable to break through repeatedly, they also adjusted their tactics in time. After Guran got the ball, he no longer looked for cooperation from his teammates, but directly dribbled forward to a position more than 40 meters away from the goal, and used his dribbling and ball protection skills to repeatedly pull Huddersfield Town's defense line in the corridor. Once he saw the floor, Guran directly kicked a long shot. In the 59th minute of the game, Guran's long shot was blocked by central defender Jamie McCombie with his calf. Lambert grabbed the first landing point in time, then touched the ball and passed it to Guran again. Guran did not stop the ball and directly volleyed it. This kick was too domineering. Huddersfield Town's little dog Alex Smithers was helpless. The ball went in. The score on the big screen was immediately changed to Southampton 2:0 Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield Town, which was 2 goals behind, began to get a little anxious. After falling behind by 1 goal, they could still hold on to the end and find opportunities to counter-attack and equalize. But after falling behind by 2 goals, the mentality was completely different. After the game continued, Huddersfield Town began to try to counter-attack through the 2 wings. However, Guran and Mikel's double defensive midfielders cooperated to intercept Huddersfield Town's counter-attack. In the 74th minute of the game, Mikel tackled Joey Gudjohnsen of Huddersfield Town. After Gudjohnsen got up, he pushed Mikel violently. Mikel was not to be outdone and reached out to push Gudjohnsen. The players from both sides quickly surrounded them and were about to fight. Fortunately, the referee intervened in time and gave 2 yellow cards to each side, which calmed the incident down. Southampton won a free kick in the backcourt. Guran stood on the penalty spot, and most of Southampton's players stood near Huddersfield's penalty area to prepare for the response. Guran made a precise long pass of nearly 50 meters, passing the ball to the air above Huddersfield's penalty area. JD jumped high and headed the ball. The ball went in. Southampton 3:0 Huddersfield Town. After scoring the goal, JD opened his arms and rushed towards Guran frantically to celebrate. This goal almost killed the suspense of the game. Southampton has seen the affectionate goddess of victory hooking her fingers. Chapter 537, Triple Crown winner. 5 crowns isn't just a dream. The following game became a crazy attack performance by Southampton. Huddersfield Town's fighting spirit was completely defeated, and low-level mistakes frequently occurred. In the 85th minute, Guran crossed in front of the penalty area, picked up the ball, and sent an assist. Lallana volleyed and scored, expanding the score to 4:0. Then 3 minutes later, after Guran passed 4 people in a row, he passed the ball to the left, and Chamberlain, who was inserted in the back row, shot at a small angle, and the score was rewritten to 5:0. In the battle to defend the British Championship, Southampton slaughtered the English League One powerhouse Huddersfield Town. In the end, the referee blew the whistle to end the game, and the score on the big screen was also fixed at Southampton 5:0 Huddersfield Town. Southampton successfully defended the title. This is also the first time in the history of Southampton that it has successfully defended the title. Southampton won the British Championship consecutively in the 09-10 season and the 10-11 season. Although the value of the English Championship is not too high, for the English Championship, English League One, and English League Two teams, this is the highest level of cup achievement. After the game, the chairman of the English Football Association, David Bernstein, smiled and presented medals and trophies to Guran and others. When Guran held up the English Championship trophy on behalf of Southampton, the Southampton fans at the scene cheered wildly. Southampton Triple Crown. In the same season, Southampton won 3 championships. The first championship was the champion of the English League One, the second championship was the champion of the English League Cup, and the third championship was the champion of the English Championship. Next, Southampton will challenge the 4th championship of this season, the champion of the FA Cup. If they can win the FA Cup, then Southampton will also have the opportunity to challenge the champion of the Community Shield. At the beginning of the season, no one dared to imagine that a mid-level English League One team like Southampton could win the Triple Crown, but under the leadership of Guran, the Triple Crown has been obtained. 5 crowns are not just a dream. Southampton's players celebrated happily at Wembley Stadium. They returned to the locker room more than half an hour after the game ended. Coach Adkins announced that the main players would have a 3-day holiday, and the winning bonus would be distributed to each player's account in proportion. All the Southampton players celebrated. 3 days later, on April 6th, the 39th round of the English League One, Southampton's away game against Oldham began. Southampton's main players were still on vacation, so Coach Adkins also sent out a full substitute lineup. Oldham was a weak team, but Southampton's substitutes did not play too easily away from home. In the first half, Walton Prowse assisted Garrod and Southampton led by 1 goal. But at the beginning of the second half, Southampton's defender fought with Oldham's striker, and the referee failed to control the situation in time, resulting in a large-scale fight between the two sides. In the end, the referee sent off 3 Southampton players and 1 Oldham player. Oldham took advantage of the number advantage and home advantage and quickly scored a goal, and then scored 3 goals in a row. In the end, Southampton lost the game 1:4. Although the substitutes lost the game, they still won the fight. Since this game was also an insignificant game, and Southampton club had a series of happy events recently, the senior management of Southampton did not blame these young and impulsive substitutes too much, exempting them from team fines and suspensions. On Saturday, April 9th, the 40th round of the English League One, Southampton's away challenge to Heartthrob began. In this game, Coach Adkins still sent out most of the substitutes. The main players have already returned to the training ground, but most of them are still in close training in the training ground to prepare for the FA Cup quarter-finals with Liverpool. Heartthrob is not a strong team, but the mood to compete for points at the end of the season is very urgent, and the scene is also very hot, with players on both sides injured. In the end, Southampton tied Heartthrob 2:2. Hartlepool also got a valuable 1 point. On April 13th, the 41st round of the English League One, Southampton played against Leyton Orient at home. In this game, Coach Adkins sent most of the main players. After more than 10 days of recuperation and close training, Southampton's main players have a good physical reserve and are in good competitive condition. Now is the time to play official games to maintain their condition. What's more, the first 2 games, 1 loss and 1 draw, were away games. Today's game is a home game in front of the elders and folks. Coach Adkins certainly knows how to flatter the home fans. Guran started. As soon as the game started, Southampton's massacre began. Guran dribbled past the opponent continuously, and the magic lamp pointed the way to the goal. Lallana and Chamberlain were fed so much that they could hardly eat, especially Lallana, who was fed a hat-trick by Guran. In the first half, Southampton was 4:0 ahead of Leyton Orient. Shortly after the second half began, Guran took advantage of the inattention of the opponent's defender and goalkeeper and made a stunning overhead kick, changing the score to 5:0. It's easy to play against weak teams, and all kinds of tricks can be played very well. However, Leyton Orient's confrontation is not weak, especially at the end of the season. The weaker the team, the more desperate it is. In the 75th minute of the game, Coach Adkins replaced Guran, Lallana and Chamberlain to prevent them from getting injured. When Guran left the field, all the Saints fans at St Mary's Stadium stood up and applauded Guran crazily. When the referee blew the whistle to end the game, the score on the big screen was fixed at Southampton 5:1 Leyton Orient. Southampton has maintained its unbeaten record at home this season. For other English League One teams, Southampton St Mary's home is simply a large slaughterhouse. After the game, Southampton's main players had a day off and then returned to Staplewood for recovery training. With the battle imminent, Coach Adkins focused more on technical and tactical drills, reduced physical energy consumption and physical confrontation training, and also required the main players not to be affectionate in the next few days. because Southampton's next game is the FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool. This season, it is not the first time that Southampton and Liverpool have faced each other. Before the official start of the season, Southampton also visited Anfield and tied with Jared's Liverpool team 3:3. Of course, Liverpool did not use their full strength at that time. After a season, Southampton is no longer the Southampton it used to be. It is the Southampton that has defeated Everton and Manchester City, eliminated Chelsea, and won the League Cup against Tottenham. This game will be full of suspense and passion. Chapter 538 Suarez smiles with his teeth showing. The FA Cup semi-finals will be played at Wembley Stadium. So Southampton arrived at the hotel one day in advance so that the players can be in the best condition for tomorrow's game. Southampton is already very familiar with Wembley Stadium. This season, they have played at Wembley Stadium more times than Liverpool. Liverpool is very miserable this season. In the first half of the season, Liverpool's ranking in the Premier League directly slipped to outside the top 10, which is also the worst start for Liverpool in the past 50 years. There are many reasons for Liverpool's decline in performance, one of the most important of which is the turmoil in the top management of Liverpool club. After the dog blood duo sold the club to Linda, there were still many cost shareholdings and many old stubborn people in the club. It took Linda more than half a year to gradually clear these club obstacles. In the process of clearing, Liverpool was naturally very turbulent. But after clearing, Liverpool got back on track. So at the beginning of the second half of the season, Linda fired Liverpool's head coach Hodgson and invited Liverpool's legend, King Kenny Dalglish, to coach Liverpool for the second time. This is just a stopgap measure, because Kenny Dalglish has already achieved success and enjoys the retired life overnight. The reason why he coached Liverpool at this time is purely because Liverpool's performance in the first half of the season was too poor, which affected his mood to retire. So he agreed to Linda to temporarily act as Liverpool's head coach before Liverpool found a more suitable head coach. Of course, there is another reason. When Linda invited Dalglish to come out, she also emphasized that she would dig Guran to Liverpool. Hearing that he could coach Guran, Dalglish was of course more willing. As a result, during the winter window, Guran never thought about transferring at all. At this time, Liverpool had just sold the Golden Boy tours to Chelsea for £50 million and had money in hand, but could not buy Guran. Therefore, Liverpool bought Luis Suarez, who had just beaten Ajax, for £25 million. With Suarez and Dalglish in charge, Liverpool's performance began to improve. Although they did not return to the top 4 Champions League zone, it should not be a problem to stop the decline and keep the top 6. With no hope of competing for the top 4, this FA Cup is Liverpool's only thought. Especially when they learned that the opponent was Southampton, Liverpool was full of confidence. Liverpool's captain Jared said in an interview with the media before the game that there was nothing to be afraid of Southampton. Their tactics were simple, which was nothing more than passing the ball to their core Guran, and then Guran would organize and instigate. This tactic might be useful against ordinary teams, but it was meaningless against Liverpool, the largest giant in England. Jared also said that he and Guran are good friends and they may become teammates, but he will never show mercy to Guran on the court. As long as Guran can be restricted, Southampton will be scrapped. Liverpool has played against Southampton before and knows how to restrict Guran. Liverpool's current head coach Kenny Dalglish also confidently told reporters that this game is for no other reason than to let Guran see clearly what a real old brand giant is, so that Guran will not make mistakes when choosing a giant team. Reporters all wanted to interview Guran, but Guran had no interest at all. He just quietly practiced in the closed gym. The next morning, which was Sunday, April 17th, after breakfast, the entire Southampton team took a bus to Wembley Stadium for a closed training session. This game also attracted the attention of major sports media around the world, and even domestic media rushed to report it. After all, Liverpool itself is a hot topic, and coupled with the scandal between Liverpool and Guran, this game seems to be extremely popular. Before the game started, the number of people in the live broadcast room had exceeded 800,000. When the game officially started, it was not a problem to exceed 1 million people watching online at the same time. This season, the live broadcast has also ushered in an expansive development, with broadcasting revenue and advertising revenue exceeding 100 million. At 1:30 p.m., fans of both sides entered the stadium while singing their respective team songs. As the home team fans, Liverpool fans can crush Southampton fans in terms of momentum and numbers, but Southampton fans are not weak in momentum. Before the game started, the players of both sides had not appeared, and the fans of both sides had already fought passionately with singing. At 2 p.m., the referee team entered the field to check the venue. At 2:15, the Southampton players, who were the visiting team, entered the field first for the final adaptive warm-up. When Guran entered the field in a black jersey, all the Saints fans stood up and raised their hands to kneel down. Some Liverpool fans also applauded Guran. They had seen Guran's ability in the warm-up match, and they all looked forward to Guran joining Liverpool and becoming a part of the Red Army. When Guran came on the court, the legendary Liverpool head coach Kenny Dalglish smiled and took the initiative to come over and hug Guran. "Hi, Gu, how are you?" "I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Dalglish. It's great to see you here. Come on." "Okay." After the two hugged each other intimately, Guran trotted to his own stadium amid the cheers and began to train seriously. Then, the home team Tottenham entered the field. When the names of stars such as Jared and Suarez resounded over the Wembley Stadium, Liverpool fans cheered wildly. After the warm-up of both sides, the players of both teams returned to their respective locker rooms to make final preparations. At 3:50, the two teams lined up in the player channel, ready to officially debut. Jared patted Guran on the shoulder and said with a grin, "Hi Gu, long time no see. You seem taller and stronger than before." Guran smiled. "Gerald, you seem a little older than before." "Ha ha ha." Jared laughed heartily. "We made you draw in the last friendly match, but that won't happen this time, because we didn't try our best last time, and this time all of our main players are starting, and Kenny Dalglish is our head coach, and we also have Suarez." Hearing his name, Suarez turned his head and raised his chin towards Guran, revealing his iconic big teeth. Guran also smiled and nodded at Suarez as a greeting. Jared smiled. "Don't blame me for not reminding you. Suarez is very fierce. You Southampton should be careful." Guran smiled. "I know. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 539. Ajax is regretting it so much. At this time, the players of both sides each pulled their little ball boys and, under the guidance of the referee team, entered the Wembley Stadium. The Red Army fans and Saints fans in the stands cheered wildly. After the two sides lined up and shook hands, the captains of both sides came to the referee to toss a coin. Liverpool captain Jared guessed the front and back and won the priority to choose the side, while Southampton captain Davis won the priority to kick off for Southampton. The captains of both sides shook hands in a friendly manner and exchanged team flags. The players of both sides went to their respective half courts to take photos and then set up their formations. Southampton still set up the 42-31 double defensive midfielder formation that they have been using recently. The forward is still Lallana, but in fact Lallana retreats to the middle more often and forms a 4-forward direction with 3 forward players. The 3 forwards are Chamberlain, Lambert, and Schneiderlin. The 2 defensive midfielders are Guran and Mikel. Southampton's formation seems to have no striker, but in fact the real striker is hidden in the position of the defensive midfielder. The 4 defenders are Hammond, Richardson, Font and JD. The goalkeeper is the captain Davis. This lineup of Southampton is also the best combination configuration after a season of running and in change. Needless to say, the core of this Southampton is Guran. So, in theory, as long as Guran is restricted, the entire Southampton team can be restricted. But the problem is that in addition to Guran's own strong strength, his position is also in the defensive midfielder position behind the striker. If Liverpool wants to restrict Guran today, it is very likely that Guran will pull the formation open. Let's look at Liverpool. Liverpool's current formation is completely different from the formation in the Hodgson era. Hodgson is the master of the 442 British classical long pass rush and two wings. After arriving at Liverpool, he changed from 442 to 42-31, which is the formation used by Southampton now, which emphasizes both offense and defense. But this formation is actually not Liverpool's traditional style. Liverpool's traditional style is offense. Therefore, when Hodgson was sacked, and legendary superstar Sir Kenny Dalglish took over Liverpool again, Liverpool's formation was changed to an offensive 433 formation. This formation is the same as the formation currently used by Barcelona and Manchester City, with 4 defenders, a small inverted triangle in the midfield, and a large triangle consisting of 2 wingers and a centre forward in the front court. Of course, Liverpool does not play passing and controlling, but plays a pressing attack. Because of the tactical changes this season, it took Liverpool's players a long time to adapt, and the results did not improve until the second half of the season. Liverpool, which has won 3 consecutive victories, also looks confident in today's game against Southampton. Liverpool's starting centre is the Uruguayan superstar, number 7 Luis Suarez, who just transferred from Ajax in January this year. Suarez, 24 years old, is 181 centimeters tall and weighs 81 kilograms. He is a typical South American human tank center. But Suarez does not just rely on his body and impact. Suarez, who was born in Ajax, has very comprehensive skills and abilities. He can not only play as a center forward, but also as a forward, left winger, right winger. Shooting, passing, goal sense and cooperation awareness are all world class. When Suarez played in the Eredivisie, he was already a well-known star in the Eredivisie. At that time, Suarez and Miralem Suleimani were called the twin stars of Ajax. Later, Suarez broke out the biting incident and was severely punished by the Eredivisie officials in the club. Suarez had the idea of leaving Ajax. The star-making factory Ajax was completely indifferent to Suarez. After all, there were too many stars produced by Ajax, and there were too many more famous than Suarez. What's more, at that time, Ajax really didn't fancy Suarez, but Miralem Suleimani. Suleimani was defined by Ajax as a world-class super genius and a superstar who could replace Messi and Ronaldo. Therefore, Suarez had almost no obstacles, and transferred to Liverpool for £25 million. As for Suleimani, he died not long after. When Suleimani fell, Suarez made a name for himself in the Premier League with the ruthlessness of a South American, and won the European Golden Boot. Later, after transferring to Barcelona, he helped Barcelona win 13 championship awards including the Champions League and La Liga. The Ajax club must be regretting it. When Suarez transferred to Ajax, his value was £7 million. Later, he transferred from Ajax to Liverpool and his value was £25 million. Later, he transferred from Liverpool to Barcelona and his value was £65 million. And the penalty for breach of contract was £200 million. Just from the increase in the transfer fee, it is not difficult to see Suarez's peak journey. Suarez has not yet cooperated with Messi, so it is not at his peak, but even if he has not met Messi, Suarez's strength is enough for him to gain a foothold in the highly confrontational league of the Premier League. When Suarez first transferred to Liverpool in January this year, Liverpool's performance was extremely poor. It fell outside the 15th place in the Premier League standings and even faced the danger of relegation. However, Suarez quickly integrated into King Kenny Dalglish's team and scored on his first appearance. Later, in the game against Manchester United, Suarez used his juggling footwork to tease Manchester United's entire defense and assisted Kuwait to score. This kind of kicking is absolutely rare for a strong center player, which also gives Liverpool's Red Army fans great confidence. If you have to find a shortcoming, then Suarez's shortcoming is that his speed is not fast enough, and he lacks rhythm and explosiveness when dribbling the ball. But in fact, with Suarez's skills and strong body, he doesn't need too much speed to bring the ball into the penalty area and finish. With a strong body, skills, awareness, positioning and a sense of smell, such a center forward is the world's top center forward in this era. Of course, biting is wrong after all. Suarez's wife Sophia is also one of the victims, even the most frequent victim, but Sophia has never complained. It is also with Suarez's wonderful performance in the front court that Liverpool can catch up from the lower reaches of the standings to the Big Six area. Therefore, in today's game, Suarez is also the focus of Southampton's defense. Suarez will definitely have a lot of direct confrontations with Guran, who is a defensive midfielder. Coupled with the participation of Jared and Mikel, the excitement of this game will definitely not be inferior to any previous game. Chapter 540 Liverpool Red Army fans, we don't need Guran. Liverpool's starting left winger is Maxi Rodriguez, and the right forward is Dirk Kuyt. In the warm-up match before the season, Rodriguez started as a sniper-type forward, while Kuyt came on as a substitute in the last 10 minutes. This time, Liverpool obviously attaches great importance to this game, and Kuyt also started directly. Liverpool's two starting midfielders are Joe Cole and Gerrard, and the starting defensive midfielder is Lucas. Such a midfield configuration is definitely the world's top existence, and both the centre and the wing are very sharp. Liverpool's starting defenders are Enrique, Carragher, Agger, and Johnson. The starting goalkeeper is Reina. Such a starting lineup can be said to be Liverpool's strongest lineup. In fact, there is another well-known star who did not start this game, that is, the super shooter Carroll, who transferred from Newcastle United at the end of January this year. Carroll was not really willing to leave his hometown team, but after Liverpool sold Tours, they had too much money in hand, and they couldn't buy Guran this season, so they could only spend all the money on Carroll. However, Carroll was injured not long after he was bought, so he had very few opportunities to play at the beginning. This was also a headache for Liverpool. Fortunately, Liverpool's purchase of Suarez was an unexpectedly good deal. This can be regarded as a bright spot in the East. With the whistle of the referee on duty, the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Southampton officially began. Less than 2 minutes after the game started, Liverpool launched a fierce attack on Southampton. Joe Cole passed the ball straight to the right, and Kuyt broke through under the double team of Chamberlain and Hammond, passing the ball to Suarez, who had already sprinted to the Southampton penalty area. Suarez opened his teeth and headed the ball. Fortunately, Davis was very focused and blocked the ball with both hands. But the ball didn't go far. Suarez turned around and picked up the ball, turned around and shot. Bang! Guran sprinted from the side and made a precise sliding tackle. When the football just flew up, he perfectly shoveled the ball out of the penalty area and out of the sideline. The Red Army fans at the scene sighed. The Saints fans breathed a sigh of relief. Southampton's defensive formation was broken by Liverpool's sharp front line. Fortunately, Guran returned to defend and fill in the position very timely, otherwise the score would have become 1-0 in the first 2 minutes. After shoveling this short goal, all the Southampton defenders ran over to high-five Guran. Suarez smiled at Guran and gave him a thumbs up. To be honest, Suarez's sense of smell is very sensitive, and the timing of the supplementary shot is just right, but he never expected that Guran, who was originally guarding Jared outside the penalty area, could actually come back in such a short time, and Guran's tackle in the penalty area was really clean and neat, and there was nothing wrong with it. Guran also nodded to Suarez to show his friendliness. The game continued. Liverpool's throw-in near the baseline. Southampton's defense line was like a big enemy, defending with an iron bucket formation. Liverpool pressed forward and frequently ran to respond. Joe Cole took the ball in the middle again and passed it directly to the left side of Southampton's penalty area. Maxi Rodriguez shot a powerful shot. The football rubbed the post and flew into the stands. Only 3 minutes into the first half, Liverpool came with great momentum and had already completed 2 shots. Regardless of whether there was a goal or not, this kind of dominant pressure momentum alone is in line with Liverpool's traditional style. The Red Army fans in the stands were also full of passion. Some even held up a banner that read, "We Liverpool don't need Guran." The game continued in a fierce atmosphere. Guran's defensive task today was to mark the opposing number 8, Steven Gerrard. However, King Kenny Dalglish had predicted this early, so Gerrard did not play the role of the core of the organization today, but was between the role of shadow striker and front midfielder, often running into the Southampton penalty area without the ball. and it is obvious that Jared's running position is more about pulling Guran back than responding, attracting Guran to the side without the ball, so that Joe Cole can more easily distribute the ball to the two wingers or directly pass it to the center forward. After these two waves of attack, Guran immediately understood Liverpool's way. Then, when Liverpool's third wave of attack came, Guran directly switched positions with Mikel marking Jared who was running, and Guran himself dealing with Joe Cole. This on-the-spot change did not require Coach Adkins on the sidelines to order adjustments. Guran was the commander on the field. Such a change also made Liverpool unable to react. When Joe Cole was about to pass the ball to Kuid on the right, Guran rushed up with a high-speed collision, pushed Joe Cole away with his shoulder, and broke the football under Joe Cole's feet. Joe Cole was naturally unwilling to be outdone, and immediately put all his strength into Guran, trying to grab the ball back on the spot. Guran's ball protection was as solid as a rock. Joe Cole hit, but he couldn't knock Guran away. Joe Cole was shocked. He remembered that he had a confrontation with Guran in a friendly match last time. At that time, Guran's confrontation was very strong, but he was not unstoppable. Today, Guran's confrontation has far exceeded him. Seeing that Guran won the head-on confrontation between the two, the Saints fans at the scene roared excitedly. Linda, the wife of Liverpool's boss, who was watching the game in the luxury box, was also screaming with fascination. She had experienced this kind of confrontation herself. Guran took advantage of Joe Cole's surprise and dribbled the ball away with his toes. How could Joe Cole let Guran easily counter-attack in front of him? Joe Cole immediately stretched out his hand to hook Guran's neck and pulled Guran to the ground. Beep. The referee blew the whistle. This was a very obvious technical foul. However, the referee only warned Joe Cole and did not give him a card. He only gave Southampton a backcourt free kick. Guran did not argue anything. He stood up silently and quickly took a tactical short free kick. At this time, Liverpool's players had not returned to their defensive positions. After Lallana received the ball in the center circle, he immediately made a wall-to-wall cooperation with Guran and passed the ball to Guran who was running wildly. Liverpool's forward pressure formation suddenly panicked. Almost all Liverpool players had to chase and double-team Guran frantically. Guran, son of the wind, king of Highbury, was at full speed. Liverpool's overall defensive speed was definitely not slow. Guran sprinted with the ball to the penalty area and directly fired a heavy long-range shot while running at high speed. Chapter 541 Southampton's dream start. Premier League giants are forced to show their true strength. Facing the whistling heavy artillery shot, the experienced world-class goalkeeper Reina was obviously not prepared enough. Reina jumped up to save the ball, but the ball was too sudden and too domineering. A few seconds ago, it was clearly Liverpool's overwhelming attack, but in the blink of an eye, Guran's big dick came over. Reina tried his best, but he couldn't reach this Batistuta-style heavy artillery shot at all. The football violently shot into the net. The net was agitated, and the goal also trembled slightly. Liverpool's players and fans were stunned. Southampton fans were ecstatic. It was even hard to believe. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. On the big screen at Wembley Stadium, the score was immediately rewritten as Liverpool 0:1 Southampton. This is the first time that Southampton has scored first in so many games against British super teams. This ball is really a dream level goal. Southampton took the lead 5 minutes after the start. This situation was definitely something that King Kenny Dalglish had not expected before the game. Liverpool attacked wildly at the start, scoring at least 2 goals in 5 minutes, and it was visibly felt that Southampton's defense was as fragile as paper, but Liverpool was pierced at the start. This situation will inevitably affect Liverpool's subsequent tactics and mentality. After scoring the goal, Guran chopped the wind with one hand and ran around the field to celebrate. After celebrating, he pointed to the fan banner that read "Liverpool doesn't need Guran" with one hand. Liverpool fans' hearts were bleeding. The game continued. Liverpool, who fell behind by 1 goal at the start, launched a more fierce attack. Southampton, on the other hand, was in high spirits and defended Liverpool with an iron barrel. As long as Jared went forward without the ball, Guran would directly mark Joe Cole. Joe Cole didn't dare to confront Guran physically, so he could only knock the ball to Jared quickly before Guran rushed up, hoping to use such cooperation to create a running time difference for Guran. But Michael, who was born in Chelsea, would not miss this good opportunity to shovel Jared. Before Jared could get the ball, Michael was already lying on the ground and sliding towards Jared. As soon as Jared got the ball, Michael shoveled Jared and the ball into the air. Beep beep beep. The referee immediately blew the whistle to intervene and warned Michael, and then did not play a card, but only awarded Liverpool a free kick about 35 meters away from the goal. Michael's face was full of comfort. Jared could only get up helplessly and stand on the penalty spot. Southampton quickly arranged the wall. Jared made a powerful and heavy arc shot with the outside of his foot. Goalkeeper Davis reacted very quickly, stretched his body to the limit, and lifted the ball over the crossbar with one hand. This ball was simply a divine save. Jared had to shake his head and sigh. However, Liverpool also won a corner kick because of this. Jared took a curved corner kick, and Kuit headed the ball at the front point, but failed to hit the ball. However, Kuit's header attracted the attention of almost all Southampton's defensive players, especially goalkeeper Davis. The football slipped past Kuit's face and was headed by Joe Cole from the back row. The ball went in. In the 9th minute of the first half, which was the 4th minute after Guran scored, Liverpool equalized the score. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. The score at Wembley Stadium was immediately rewritten as Liverpool 1 Southampton. The game was so exciting. Less than 10 minutes into the first half, both sides scored a goal. The Red Army fans in the stands cheered wildly. The fan banner that said Liverpool doesn't need Guran was raised high again. Guran looked at the banner and couldn't help but smile. Liverpool may not need me, but Liverpool's boss lady must really need my goal, which also put Southampton back under pressure. Although the game was a draw, Southampton was ahead for 4 minutes after all. From leading to not leading, it was also a test for the players' mentality. The game continued. The offensive and defensive transitions of both sides became very fast. Southampton's defensive tactics were very flexible. Specifically, Guran's position was very changeable. He was completely a free man throughout the game. Whoever came to instigate the attack, Guran would mainly defend him. Although Liverpool's offense was fierce, its on-the-spot tactics were a bit old-fashioned compared to Southampton. Joe Cole was obviously suppressed by Guran and could not play too much strength, but Jared still implemented the tactic of moving forward without the ball. After Guran restricted Joe Cole, Liverpool's offensive was like a toothless tiger. Suarez frequently ran in the middle, but he could not get the ball, so he could only worry. In fact, at this time, Liverpool should decisively give up Joe Cole as a core and change to Jared to instigate the attack and let Jared confront Guran. In this way, even if Jared's strength will be limited by Guran, Guran will also be limited by Jared in part. But Joe Cole has to have face. If he is replaced as the core of the organization before the game just 10 minutes into the game, where can he put his face as a number 10 player? So, sometimes it is not that the head coach cannot see the situation clearly, nor that Jared on the field cannot understand the tactics, but that a club like Liverpool, which has so many old stars, has already had a bit of a tail that cannot be cut off, and everything must first consider the impact of the locker room. However, having said that, even if Guran greatly limits Joe Cole's performance in the position of the core of the organization, Liverpool is still a giant Liverpool after all. Every Liverpool midfielder and front court player is a superstar who can stand on his own, and every star is an absolute core existence in other teams. In the 18th minute of the game, midfielder Lucas made a long pass to the right, and the Dutchman Kuit stopped and passed the interception of Chamberlain and Lambert, and passed the ball to the middle of the penalty area before Hammond flew up. Suarez used his body to knock away the interception of JD and Font, and scored before Davis rushed out to grab the ball. Liverpool scored another goal, reversed and overtook. The score on the big screen at Wembley Stadium was immediately rewritten as Liverpool 2:1 Southampton. The cooperation of this ball was too beautiful and too fast. Suarez's shot was too domineering. Southampton's defense line had tried its best, but it was basically useless. The Red Army fans on the scene cheered wildly, and the Liverpool players on the field also hugged and celebrated happily. Southampton was under great pressure. They had a dream start, but the gap in strength was still very obvious. Southampton's morale also became low. Chapter 542. Liverpool came back from 1-0 down to 3-0. Next, Liverpool continued to attack wildly. Southampton's defense was repeatedly broken by Liverpool's two wingers. In the 25th minute, Kuwait made a quick breakthrough and passed the ball horizontally. Suarez made a shot with his archer foot. Fortunately, Davis had a good position and reacted quickly. He blocked Suarez's shot with his calf, and Southampton escaped. However, Liverpool's attack was higher and higher. Although the midfielders' ability to organize the core was missing, the individual strength of Liverpool's other stars was also difficult for Southampton to achieve. Southampton could only shrink near the penalty area and defend with all their strength. It was difficult to break out. In the 33rd minute of the game, Liverpool made a big fuss on the right side of Southampton. Left winger Maxi Rodriguez made a beautiful 2-on-2 cooperation with Gerrard, who was running through. Gerrard took the opportunity to shake off Mikel, who was marking him, and went straight into the Southampton penalty area. Mikel reached out to pull Gerrard, and Fontaine JD also stepped forward to defend. Under such circumstances, Maxi Rodriguez still believed in Gerrard very much and passed the ball directly to Gerrard's feet. Gerrard stopped the ball and protected it in one go, then turned around and prepared to shoot. Mikel dragged Gerrard to the ground. Font, who followed, immediately cleared the ball out of the danger zone. The referee blew the whistle to interrupt, gave Mikel a yellow card, and awarded Liverpool a direct free kick close to the penalty area. The Red Army fans in the stands cheered excitedly. For Gerrard, a free kick at this distance is equivalent to a penalty kick. Gerrard stood at the penalty spot very confidently. Under the command of Davis, the Southampton team urgently arranged a human wall, and even Guran stood in the human wall. Gerrard glanced at Southampton's goal, then took a run up and kicked the ball. Gerrard's heavy artillery. The football was like a powerful shell, with a strange arc, bypassing the wall of people and heading straight for the upper left corner of the goal. Goalkeeper Davis judged the route correctly, but the speed of the kick was too fast and the power was too great. Davis jumped up towards the flying football, stretching his body to the limit, but still couldn't touch the football. The football was shot into the net with an unstoppable precision. The ball went in. The referee gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen at Wembley Stadium was immediately rewritten as Liverpool 3:1 Southampton. Liverpool fell behind by 1 goal at the beginning, but soon relied on their own strength and scored 3 goals in just over 30 minutes, making a comeback from 1-3, completing a major reversal. Southampton went from leading by 1 goal at the beginning to falling behind by 2 goals. The Southampton fans in the stands all hugged their heads in pain. The Saints fans actually knew that Southampton was far inferior to Liverpool. They also knew that Southampton was very surprised to be able to get to where they are today. They also knew that they would probably lose to Liverpool in this game, but it was still difficult for the Saints fans to accept it. The Liverpool Red Army fans were singing and dancing excitedly. This game has been played so far, it can really be described as soul-stirring. Under the leadership of King Kenny Dalglish, Liverpool played out the spirit of the Liverpool Red Army. Liverpool fans sang King Kenny's praises, and while singing, they shook the fan banner "We Liverpool don't need Guran." At this time, Southampton really needs someone to stand up. The game continues. Liverpool still maintains a very high offensive pressure. Southampton was suppressed near its own penalty area, defending with all their strength, and the situation was very passive and ugly. Guran sprinted back and forth in the middle, not giving Joe Cole and Gerrard more opportunities to organize and connect, and other defensive players also strengthened their defense on Liverpool's 2 wings. In the 44th minute of the game, with 2 minutes of injury time, Southampton was still 2 goals behind. However, Liverpool's offensive slowed down after Guran's stubborn breakthroughs in several waves. In the first half, Liverpool's overall state also declined during the physical window period. Guran immediately seized the opportunity, accelerated directly, fell to the ground and slid, intercepting Joe Cole's ground ball pass to Gerrard. Then, Guran stood up and ran with the ball. The entire Southampton team immediately switched from defense to offense, especially Chamberlain on the left, who sprinted wildly without the ball along the left side. Midfielder Lucas immediately flew towards Guran fiercely, and Carragher and Agger also doubled up towards Guran. Guran made a sudden stop and turned, avoiding Lucas' fatal sliding tackle, and then passed the ball directly to Chamberlain in front of him on the left. Chamberlain's stop was a little slow. After getting the ball, Chamberlain cut directly into Liverpool's penalty area. Agger urgently retreated to block Chamberlain. Chamberlain knocked back behind Agger. Lallana followed in time, dribbled the ball into Liverpool's torn defense line, and went straight into the penalty area. Lallana shot. This kick was very decisive. The angle was also good. The power was also very good. However, Liverpool's goalkeeper Reina was very experienced, and his reaction was also very fast. Reina saw Lallana kicking, and immediately fell to the ground to save the ball. The football hit Reina's arm, and bounced out of the penalty area. Carragher saw the landing point and quickly occupied the best position to receive the ball. Before the ball landed, a black shadow directly collided with Carragher. Carragher felt a flash before his eyes, and his whole body seemed to be hit by a chariot, and he couldn't stand still at all. When Carragher finally managed to keep his balance with his own ability, the black shadow had already used a beautiful and swift Marcel turn to wipe away the football in front of him. The black shadow was none other than Guran. Carragher subconsciously pulled Guran's jersey to prevent Guran from dribbling the ball. But Guran kicked directly from the spot, violently shooting from a long distance. Reina, who had just climbed up from the grass in an emergency, jumped up to save the ball, but the power of Guran's domineering shot was too great. The football was like a cruise missile, accurately shooting towards the upper left corner of the goal. Reina had clearly judged Guran's shooting route, but he was really powerless. The football shot into the net. The ball went in. The referee pointed to the center circle with both hands, indicating that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen of Wembley Stadium was rewritten as Liverpool 3:2 Southampton. The two sides jointly contributed 5 goals in the first half. Although Southampton was reversed by Liverpool's crazy attack in the first half, at the end of the first half, Southampton relied on Guran's unreasonable and domineering long-range shots to maintain the suspense of the game. Yes, Liverpool don't think about opening champagne at halftime. Chapter 543 Goodbye Crescent Moon Scimitar. At the end of the first half, the score between the two sides was temporarily fixed at Liverpool 3:2 Southampton. The players of both sides left the field and returned to their respective locker rooms to rest. "Boys, you did a good job." Coach Adkins took the initiative to applaud and cheer for the players. When Liverpool was 3:1 in the first half, Southampton almost collapsed, but fortunately, Guran stood up at the critical moment to turn the tide and narrowed the disadvantage to only 1 goal with a violent long-range shot that broke the sky. This is already a very good situation. When Southampton played against Tottenham at Wembley Stadium, they fell behind by 3 goals in the first half alone, and then Guran caught up in the second half. In the eyes of the Southampton team, as long as Guran is there will be unlimited miracles. Coach Adkins did not say much nonsense, but took advantage of the players' rest massage, electrolyte energy drinks, and snuff oil to quickly fine-tune the tactics for the Southampton team on the tactical whiteboard. In the new tactics in the second half, Guran no longer defended with all his strength and waited for an opportunity to counter-attack. Instead, he focused on counter-attack and defense, and other players had to support Guran with all their strength. Overall, they had to strengthen the confrontation, use small moves when necessary, pull when necessary, and shovel when necessary, and try their best to consume the physical energy of Liverpool players, especially the big name and older players. Of course, Mikel, who had already received a yellow card, had to play as restrainedly as possible and not receive a second yellow card, otherwise, it would be really troublesome. After the 15-minute halftime break, the players of both sides left the locker room in high spirits, returned to the court, and changed sides to fight again. As soon as Liverpool came up, they launched a wave of smooth and fierce attacks. After receiving Jared's diagonal long pass, Kuid dribbled the ball directly into the right side of Southampton's penalty area and shot into the far corner. Davis missed the ball, but the ball hit the post and bounced back, and was cleared by Font, who got the first landing point. Southampton fans were shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. It must be said that Liverpool's oppressive attack was really too sharp. And that's not the end. In the 57th minute, Jared made a half-high pass, and Suarez withstood the defense of JD Enfant, and forced a header. Fortunately, the football hit the upper edge of the door beam, and bounced out of the bottom line. Southampton escaped again. Liverpool's Red Army fans were a little impatient. To be honest, Southampton is only a League One team in terms of level, but Liverpool has not achieved the expected crushing effect when playing against a League One team. The game continues. In the 63rd minute, Liverpool's offensive came back. Joe Cole penetrated into the penalty area and shot, but was blocked by Guran. Kuit, who followed up in the back row, made a supplementary shot, but kicked the ball out and missed the opportunity to expand the score again. Then, in the 68th minute, Maxi Rodriguez cut inside after getting the ball on the wing. Suarez was in a good position, but Maxi Rodriguez did not choose to pass the ball, but shot it diagonally himself. The ball passed the goal and flew into the stands. In the first 70 minutes of the game, Liverpool absolutely had a crushing advantage, and their traditional oppressive offensive style was also brought to the extreme, and their playing style was really pleasing to the eye. However, Liverpool had 80% possession, 27 shots, and 9 shots on target. Such gorgeous data, but they have only scored 3 goals so far. On the other hand, Southampton had a pitiful 20% possession, 6 shots, 3 shots on target, but scored 2 goals. If you only look at the data, Liverpool is definitely crushing, but when you look at the score, Liverpool is only leading by 1 goal, and there is really no advantage that can rest easy. In the 75th minute of the game, Liverpool's second physical fatigue window had appeared, and Liverpool's offensive pressure rhythm had obviously slowed down again, and Liverpool players were not active enough in running. In the 77th minute, Joe Cole passed the ball to Jared, who was running. Duran, who had been lying in wait on the interception route, suddenly burst into action and intercepted the pass again with a deadly sliding tackle. Jared hurriedly accelerated to chase Guran, but Guran stood up quickly with his waist and abdomen straightened and immediately sprinted with the ball at high speed. At this point in the second half, Liverpool's physical fitness was already a little insufficient. This was not because they were physically weak, nor was it entirely because the overall age of this Liverpool team was relatively old. The main reason was that Liverpool had played a Premier League game with Manchester United 3 days ago. Under the pressure of desperately trying to keep the top 6, Liverpool naturally played very hard in that game. Liverpool thought this game would be easy, but the physical energy consumption of this game was no less than that of playing against Manchester United. And now, Guran really began to explode. Jared couldn't reach Guran, Joe Cole couldn't catch up with Guran, and Lucas couldn't tackle Guran. Guran drove straight into the penalty area with the ball. When facing the interception of Carragher and Agger, Guran directly cut across with the ball, pulling Carragher and Agger to the left rib of the penalty area. At the same time, Lallana pulled to the right side of the penalty area, and Chamberlain cut into the small penalty area at high speed without the ball. Guran stopped suddenly, and Carragher and Agger also stopped quickly. Before Carragher and Agger could stabilize their bodies and stretch their feet to steal the ball, Guran made a smooth fried meatball move, and then followed with a reverse foot through the crotch. The football passed through Carragher's legs, and was guided by a magic lamp, and was directly passed to Chamberlain's feet. Chamberlain shot directly. Reina predicted Chamberlain's shooting path in advance, and made a sideways save. The football was blocked, and flew out of the baseline. Chamberlain held his head and lamented. In this ball, Guran intercepted, sprinted in a counter-attack, attracted Carragher and Agger, and then Lallana attracted firepower on the right, and then Guran passed the ball through the crotch with his back foot. Southampton really played the cooperation in the front court to the extreme. However, Chamberlain's final shot was still a little short. Fortunately, Southampton also won a corner kick with Chamberlain's shot. Guran patted Chamberlain on the shoulder and trotted to the corner area. Liverpool's defensive players also returned to the penalty area and played man-to-man defense against Southampton's important players. Guran glanced at the penalty area. At this time, Lallana trotted towards the corner area again. Southampton has played this corner kick tactic twice, and it worked both times. Liverpool had naturally watched Southampton's matches against Manchester City and Tottenham, so when Lallana ran towards Guran, Liverpool's defensive players kept a close eye on him, ready to defend him from all directions and prevent him from touching the ball. But before Lallana could get in front of Guran sprinted forward and kicked the ball with a scimitar kick. Chapter 544 The New King of Anfield. When Guran was running fast, Lallana quickly lay down on the ground to make room for the ball. Liverpool's defensive players were all dumbfounded. No one expected that Guran and Lallana's corner kick tactics this time would be so shameless. When Lallana trotted towards the corner kick area just now, his body just blocked most of Guran's movements. Liverpool's defensive players were not ready at all. They didn't expect Guran to kick directly, and what they didn't expect was that this kick was not a pass, but a direct shot at a 0-degree angle. The football drew a beautiful scimitar-shaped arc in the air, and then fell straight into the near corner of the goal with a deadly elevator-like falling feeling. Reina reacted quickly, but the arc of the football was too weird, and Reina was powerless. The football went into the net with the cheers of 40,000 Saints fans. The ball went in. This was a direct goal from a corner kick with a crescent scimitar. This was also Guran's hat-trick. The referee blew the whistle and gestured to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen at Wembley Stadium was immediately changed to Liverpool 3:3 Southampton. After Liverpool reversed Southampton and completed the wonderful comeback from 1-3, Guran tied the score again. The Red Army fans in the stands were all silent. Their silence seemed more deafening than the cheers of the Southampton Saints fans. Those fans holding the banner "We Liverpool Don't Need Guran" also had mixed feelings at this moment. Guran's direct goal from the crescent-shaped corner kick was so shocking. Guran is simply a weapon of mass destruction. Even a weak team like Southampton, a rubbish team in the English First Division, can play a 50-50 game with Liverpool with Guran. Which team wouldn't want a killer like Guran? The players of the Southampton team hugged Guran excitedly to celebrate. However, this celebration soon ended. Guran picked up the football from the net and ran quickly to the center circle. The game is not over yet. Southampton doesn't want a draw, and Liverpool doesn't want one either. After 75 minutes of fierce battle, the two sides are back on the same starting line. All the Southampton fans stood up to watch the game, cheering for their players crazily, and the shouts of "Chinese Dad" resounded throughout the Wembley Stadium. In the 82nd minute, Guran received a pass from Schneiderlin and dribbled the ball straight into Liverpool's penalty area. Lucas and Carragher doubled up Guran at the same time. Guran made a Matthews shoulder drop, a toe buckle, and then a reverse Matthews shoulder drop, directly knocking Lucas and Carragher to the ground. Just as Guran broke into Liverpool's penalty area, Agger rushed up to tackle the ball. Guran turned around to protect the ball, avoiding Agger's sliding tackle, and then made a gorgeous top-level turn shot and field king, and shot the goal while turning around. Reina was half a beat slow to react. The football almost stuck to the grass and hit the near corner of the goal. The ball went in. Guran scored 4 goals. The referee signaled that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen at Wembley Stadium was immediately changed to Liverpool 3:4 Southampton. In the final stage of the game, Southampton almost relied on Guran's own strength to take the lead again. All the fans of Southampton were crazy. This shot that was shot after turning around was so beautiful and domineering. The throats of 40,000 Saints fans were smoking. Even Linda, who was watching the game in the luxury box, was excited and screaming for Guran. King Kenny Dalglish, who was standing in the technical area on the sidelines, looked at Guran, who was celebrating with his teammates on the field with burning eyes, and his eyes were full of his appearance when he was young. The old king abdicated, and the new king of Anfield has appeared. For King Kenny Dalglish, the only thing he needs to do now is not to find a way to win this game, but to find a way, do everything possible, to take Guran to Liverpool and let the new king of Anfield, which belongs to Liverpool, ascend the throne. Kenny Dalglish was not sad about Guran's goal, but was full of relief and desire. On the court, Liverpool's players were panting, shaking their heads and sighing helplessly. At this point in the game, their physical energy had been greatly consumed, but Guran was able to continue to maintain a high state, repeatedly running and sprinting. Just for this point, Liverpool's players had to be convinced. especially Carragher, who was beaten badly by Guran. He wanted to retire on the spot to host a football program. Suarez also opened his mouth slightly, revealing his long front teeth. Looking at Guran in a trance, his eyes seemed to want to bite Guran and taste Guran's taste. Of course, Suarez didn't have a chance. There were several contacts between them, but Guran's speed was too fast. Suarez was knocked away by Guran every time before he could react. When Suarez wanted to chase Guran, Guran had already intercepted the ball and rushed back. If you want to taste Guran's taste, you must have the opportunity to be Guran's teammate in the future. Thinking of this, Suarez couldn't help but shook his head. The game continues. Southampton, who was leading by 1 goal, began to use the tactics of delaying time and parking the bus under the on-the-spot command of head coach Adkins. It doesn't take many goals to win against a strong team like Liverpool. 1 goal is enough. There is not much time left for Liverpool. Liverpool is forcing the attack when its physical strength is obviously insufficient. This kind of pressing and attacking style of play is extremely energy consuming in itself, and when there is little physical strength left, the coordination errors of Liverpool players gradually increase. It's a pity that Southampton's tactics in the last few minutes are bus-style defensive tactics. Otherwise Guran can really stand out to find opportunities to intercept the ball and then make a super world wave long shot, so that the fans in the stands holding the banner "We Liverpool don't need Guran" will tear the banner to pieces and eat it on the spot. Liverpool's attack is very fierce, while Southampton's defense is watertight. Guran took on more defensive responsibilities as a back midfielder in accordance with the requirements of the head coach. The combination of Guran and Mikel was like a moving steel wall. No matter whether it was Joe Cole or Jared who organized and instigated Liverpool, they could not form an effective breakthrough. The regular time of the game was over, and the fourth official raised a sign, indicating 4 minutes of injury time. Liverpool pressed forward with all their strength, and even goalkeeper Ian passed the half court. Liverpool first kept passing the ball around the perimeter, looking for a gap in Southampton's defense. In the 3rd minute of injury time, Jared pushed Mikel, who was marking him, away and quickly penetrated into Southampton's penalty area. Joe Cole immediately found the opportunity and made a straight pass into Southampton's penalty area. Guran and Mikel chased Jared at the same time. At this critical moment, Jared slipped. Chapter 545. One-on-one sprint to the empty goal. The FA Cup final is here. When Jared slipped, Guran immediately rushed forward and slid to the ball under Jared's feet to Lambert, who was assisting him. Then, Guran stood up and sprinted towards Liverpool's half. At this time, Jared was still struggling after slipping, and there was no time to chase and intercept Guran. In front of the young Guran, Liverpool's meritorious captain looked so old. After Lambert got the ball, he did not stick to the ball, but took a step forward and passed the ball directly to Guran, who had already sprinted to the center circle. Liverpool's defensive players who pressed on immediately retreated desperately to intercept, but Guran's speed was too fast. After Guran got the ball, he ran wildly with big strides, leaving everyone behind. Even goalkeeper Reina, who rushed to the midfield line, was left behind by Guran. Reina chased desperately, but he couldn't catch up at all. Guran rushed with the ball, and almost in the blink of an eye, he broke through the empty midfield, the empty front court, and Liverpool's penalty area. Guran rode away. All the Liverpool players were in despair. The Red Army fans also covered their heads in pain, not daring to see what happened next. Guran rushed into the small penalty area with the ball, and then faced the empty goal, and almost at the goal line, he kicked and shot. The football shot into the net with the posture of an arrow piercing the clouds. The entire net was shaken by the huge force, and even the goal was shaking steadily. The ball went in. The referee signaled that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen of Wembley Stadium was immediately rewritten as Liverpool 3:5 Southampton. After Southampton was reversed by Liverpool by 2 goals in the first half, they reversed Liverpool by 2 goals in the second half. The whole game process was 2 ups and downs. The Saints fans of Southampton were intoxicated and cheered wildly. There was less than 1 minute left in this game. Guran's one-stop sprint to the empty goal also completely killed the suspense. The excited Southampton players frantically pressed Guran under them to celebrate. Southampton's female fans were also screaming wildly, wishing they could replace the Southampton players on the field. Coach Adkins slid down and knelt in the away team's technical area, cheering and waving his arms. Kenny Dalglish in the home team's technical area was helpless and shook his head. In the luxury box, Liverpool's boss Linda couldn't calm down for a long time. Linda grabbed her phone with trembling fingers and sent a message to Guran, who was still celebrating. "Congratulations, Gu. You played well today." After sending it, Linda withdrew the message and re-edited it. "I want to eat you. Beep, beep, beep." As the referee blew the final whistle, the FA Cup semi-final was over. Southampton won by 2 goals and eliminated the powerful Liverpool team. At the end of the game, the players and staff on the Southampton bench all rushed into the field to celebrate. This is the first time they have entered the FA finals in nearly 30 years. Moreover, this was the first time in their history that they won both the League Cup and the FA Cup in the same season and reached the finals. Southampton fans sang the song "There is a young and handsome Oriental man named Guran." Liverpool's Red Army fans tore off part of the banner that read "We Liverpool don't need Guran" and changed it to "We Liverpool need Guran." When Southampton celebrated their farewell, Liverpool's captain Gerrard walked up to Guran with a look of annoyance on his face. "Hi, Gu. Hi, Gerrard." The two of them clapped their hands and hugged each other in a friendly manner. Gerrard smiled bitterly and said, "Gu, you performed really well today, and I have become your background board." The last goal that killed the game. If Gerrard had just slipped, it would not be a big deal. But the key was that when Gerrard slipped, Guran immediately performed a one-stop sprint to the empty goal. This classic goal collection will definitely be popular all over the country and even all over the world. A world-class midfielder like Gerrard is naturally destined to be Guran's background board. Guran smiled and said, No, Gerrard, it's my honor to play with you. I hope I will have the opportunity to play with you in the future." Gerrard waved his hand and said, "I don't hope so. To be honest, Gu, you should come to Liverpool. If you can come to Liverpool, everyone will welcome you very much." Guran smiled and said, "Thank you, Gerrard, but I won't consider the transfer for the time being." Gerrard smiled and said, "Okay, I'm just talking about my hope. Your competitive state today is really great. Oh, by the way, can we exchange jerseys? Number 8 for number 8. Of course. We are good friends." Guran immediately took off his shirt and handed it to Gerrard. Gerrard also took off his shirt and exchanged with Guran. As the captain of England and a world-class midfielder, Gerrard almost never took the initiative to exchange jerseys with opponents, but for Guran, it was an exception. Guran's jersey was also the only consolation for Gerrard's loss. Half an hour later, after the game ended, the Southampton players happily returned to the locker room and continued to celebrate. Coach Adkins and Captain Davis attended the post-match press conference. At this time, the media hall of Wembley Stadium was already crowded, and media reporters from all over the world wanted to ask questions about this shocking upset. After seeing the legendary coach Kenny Dalglish, Coach Adkins also politely took the initiative to greet him. After both sides sat down, a reporter immediately asked Kenny Dalglish about losing this FA Cup game. Kenny Dalglish first affirmed the performance of the Liverpool players on the field, and then took half of the responsibility for the loss on himself, and half of it was used to praise Guran. Kenny Dalglish said that his old-fashioned tactics could not keep up with Guran's on-the-spot free-man tactics, so today the two Liverpool midfielders were restricted and did not play their original strength. When hearing a reporter asking about Dalglish's plan for next season, Dalglish made no secret of the fact that Liverpool would do everything possible to poach Guran next season. Coach Adkins warned against this, saying that Guran was not for sale at Southampton. Of course, Coach Adkins still praised Kenny Dalglish. Adkins said that it was a blessing for Liverpool that a legend like Kenny Dalglish could come out again to save Liverpool, and Liverpool should not expect to poach Guran anymore. At the same time, Guran also saw the message from Linda. That night, Guran did not go back to Southampton with the team to party, but took a leave of absence and stayed in London. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 546 FA Cup Final. Our opponent is the King Manchester United. The other FA Cup semi-final of the day was between Manchester United and Birmingham. The final result was that Manchester United beat Aston Villa 4-1. Rooney, Berbatov, Giggs, and Nani each scored a goal. Manchester United played very relaxed, and the offense was as smooth as mercury, and blossomed in multiple places. In this way, the FA Cup final was a showdown between Southampton and Manchester United. In the 2010-2011 season, Manchester United was definitely the strongest team in the Premier League, and Manchester United had basically locked the top spot in the Premier League standings. Moreover, in the Champions League, Manchester United also won the first round of the semi-final against Schalke 04 at home, which was equivalent to having one foot in the Champions League final. Therefore, the Manchester United that Southampton is going to challenge is almost the King of Manchester United at its peak. The match with Manchester United is also the final battle of the Southampton club this season. On Wednesday, April 20th, the 42nd round of the English League One began, and Southampton played against Bristol Rovers at home. In this game, all the main players of Southampton took turns to rest. In the end, Southampton lost the game with a score of 2-3, but Ward-Prowse and Aaron Martin performed quite well. On Monday, April 25th, Southampton played against Yeovil Town at home. Guran started the game and Southampton sent out half of the main players. Under the leadership of Guran, Southampton defeated Yeovil Town 7-0. On Saturday, April 1930, Southampton continued to play against the Gennam at home. Guran came on as a substitute in the second half and completed a hat-trick in a limited time and finally crushed the Gennam with a score of 5-2. On Saturday, May 7th, Southampton challenged Exeter City away, which was also the last game of the English League One this season. Southampton sent out most of its main players in order to maintain their competitive state so that they can compete with Manchester United for the FA Cup next Saturday. In the end, Southampton beat Exeter City 4-1 away from home. Guran was tackled by a crazy counter-attack Exeter City player in the second half, which scared coach Adkins to replace Guran in the 65th minute. After the game, Southampton only had one FA Cup final left this season. Last season, Southampton was still a mid-level team in the English League One, but this season, after half of the season, Southampton has already secured the title of the English League One champion and won the English League Cup and the English Championship. Now there is a chance to compete with the King Manchester United for the FA Cup. This is a result that the top management and fans of the Southampton club dare not imagine. In other words, even if Southampton lost to Manchester United in the last FA Cup final, the club would have no regrets. After all, Manchester United's strength is obvious. Losing to a strong enemy is not shameful at all. The atmosphere of the Southampton team is still very relaxed, without any psychological pressure. As for Manchester United, although they were very happy when they knew that Southampton had eliminated Liverpool unexpectedly and thought that the FA Cup championship was within their grasp. In fact, Manchester United's pressure was much greater than Southampton. So far, Manchester United still needs to fight on two fronts. First of all, in the Premier League, the suspense of the Premier League Championship has been retained until the last two rounds, and Manchester United's enemies in the last two rounds are Chelsea, the last Premier League champion, who is currently ranked second, and Blackpool, who strongly needs 3 points to avoid relegation. Chelsea is strong, and Chelsea is currently only 5 points behind Manchester United in the Premier League standings. If Chelsea wins Manchester United at home, and then Manchester United loses to the relegation team Blackpool, then Manchester United's Premier League championship will be gone. Does Chelsea have the strength to beat Manchester United? Definitely. And the relegation team Blackpool is equally terrible. The mentality of the relegation team is more than 10 times stronger than that of the championship team. especially at the critical time at the end of the season. Blackpool must fight hard to get 3 points so that they can stay in the Premier League and continue to enjoy the Premier League's share and benefits without having to reduce benefits or even be forced to transfer because of relegation. Therefore, Manchester United will never dare to take it lightly at the end of the season and give up the league championship to Chelsea. In the Champions League, the semi-finals need to be played in 2 rounds. Manchester United defeated the tenacious Bundesliga team Schalke 04 at home in the first round of the semi-finals, but the goal difference advantage was not obvious. On the 3rd day after the FA Cup game, Manchester United had to fly to Germany to play the second round with Schalke 04. The intensity of the second round of the game must be much greater than that of the first round. Therefore, Manchester United's focus must be on the Champions League semi-finals. Is the FA Cup important? It is important. Is it valuable? It is. However, compared with the Premier League champion and the Champions League champion, the FA Cup is not that valuable. Therefore, in the FA Cup final, it seems that Southampton has no hope, but the actual situation is that Manchester United is under much more pressure than Southampton. During this period, Coach Adkins also led the Southampton players to relax their training by playing games while giving them targeted tactical lessons. Southampton was focused and spent more than half a month preparing for this game with Manchester United. On Friday, May 13th, the Southampton team took their own bus to the Wembley 5-star hotel that had been booked long ago. That afternoon, Southampton conducted closed training at Wembley Stadium. The head coaches of both sides also held a press conference. Manchester United's head coach Hadria Ferguson highly praised Coach Adkins' miraculous results in Southampton. At the same time, Ferguson also said that he had been paying attention to the performance of superstar Guran and said that Manchester United was ready to buy Guran at all costs. Coach Adkins once again emphasized that Guran was not for sale and said that Southampton had made full preparations for this game and asked everyone to look forward to Guran's wonderful performance on the field. The next day, early in the morning on Saturday, May 14th, Guran got up early and quietly practiced in the dedicated VIP gym. After a nutritious breakfast in the morning, Guran and other Southampton players came to Wembley Stadium again for the last closed training session before the game. At 12 noon, fans from both sides entered the stadium. The 90,000-seat Wembley Stadium was soon overcrowded. Chapter 547 Nanny, Hi Gu, Cristiano and I are good friends. After the famous band finished their performance, Southampton took the lead as the visiting team. To warm up, 40,000 Southampton fans and fans of other teams cheered for Guran crazily. As a League One team, Southampton was able to stand at the FA Cup match, which was already a huge victory, so the Southampton fans cheered for Southampton in the form of cheering for victory. Then, the Manchester United team, which was full of superstars, came out to warm up, and the Manchester United Red Devils fans immediately turned the Wembley Stadium into the Red Devils' dream theatre. During the warm-up process, the cheers of the fans of both sides never stopped. This crazy scene was something Guran had never experienced before. It must be said that the Manchester United Red Devils fans are really as crazy as their name suggests. After the warm-up, the players of both sides returned to their respective locker rooms to make final preparations. At 2:45, the players of both sides pulled their caddies and officially lined up on the field under the leadership of the referee team. After a series of entrance ceremonies, the players of both sides shook hands. Manchester United, playing as the home team today, wore their iconic red jerseys, while Southampton, playing as the visiting team, wore black jerseys. When Rooney shook hands with Guran, he deliberately added some strength to his hands. Guran smiled slightly and kept the same strength as Rooney. Rooney grinned at Guran, said nothing, and walked over. Then, Nani shook hands with Guran enthusiastically and whispered, "Hey, Boo, can we exchange jerseys after the game? I'm a player under George Mendes like you. Cristiano and I are good friends." Guran smiled and said, "Okay, Nani." Nani patted Guran's shoulder happily again. "Come on, it doesn't matter, even if you lose to me, you are already great." Guran smiled and said, "It's not certain who will lose." Nani laughed. After the handshake ceremony, the captains of both sides immediately went to the referee to guess the side of the coin. Southampton's captain is naturally goalkeeper Davis, while Manchester United's captain is number 15, the world's top defender, Nemanja Vidic. Davis won the priority to kick off for Southampton, while Vidic won the priority to kick off for Manchester United. The two captains shook hands and exchanged team flags. The players of both sides stood in their respective half, took photos, and then spread out their formations. Southampton's formation today adopted a 42-31 double defensive midfielder formation. Lallana still stood in front as a single striker, but in fact, Southampton's formation is more inclined to be a strikerless formation. Lallana's main role is to retreat to the vicinity of the midfield when defending, and form the first line of defense of the four forwards with the three forwards. The three forwards starting for Southampton are still the left forward Chamberlain, the central midfielder Lambert, and the right forward Schneiderlin. Chamberlain's growth this season is also visible to the naked eye. Of course, in addition to Chamberlain's own very good potential as a first-class winger, the main reason is that Guran cooperates with him on the left side. Chamberlain is now playing more and more well, and he has not been fouled as many times as at the beginning of the season. Although his defense is not very good, he has begun to be very attentive. Lambert's performance is even more remarkable. As a player who is already very old, but has never played well before, Lambert is also a late bloomer. The older he is, the better. Especially when cooperating with Guran, Lambert can always pass the ball to Guran very smartly, which also allows Lambert to get a lot of assists, and greatly improves Lambert's confidence on the court. As for Schneiderlin, Schneiderlin has strengthened his physical strength training this season. With the improvement of breakthrough speed and breakthrough skills, his ability to confront and fight for the ball has been greatly enhanced. It can be said that, although Southampton's front court configuration cannot be compared with the front court configuration of giants such as Manchester United, Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, with this midfield configuration, there is absolutely no problem playing in the English Championship. Coupled with the two big wastes Guran and Mikel, Southampton's current real strength is definitely capable of playing in the Premier League. Southampton has won so many games against Premier League teams, which is enough to prove this. In this game, Southampton's starting double midfielders are naturally Guran and Mikel. Guran's role in the midfield position is much higher than his role on the left. Guran's physical fitness and sprint speed can ensure Guran's full coverage ability. Almost the entire middle, front, and backcourt can see Guran's running after image. This is also the key to Southampton's ability to withstand the fierce attacks of Premier League giants and turn defeat into victory. In the last semi-final match with Liverpool, Liverpool played very well in the first half. Liverpool was 1-0 down and almost defeated Southampton, but in the second half, Liverpool was not effective. Why? Actually, it is very simple. Liverpool was exhausted little by Guran. Physical fitness is always the most basic and most critical factor in football games. Without physical fitness, you can't play well, even if you are at a high level. The real problem of Liverpool is not that the pressure attack was blocked by Southampton's iron bucket defense, but that under the pressure attack tactics, a lot of physical fitness was consumed, but it failed to establish its absolute advantage. Guran's full strength sprinting greatly consumed the physical fitness of Joe Cole, Gerrard, and two wingers Maxi Rodriguez and Kuit, which also caused Liverpool's engine to stop moving. Without the engine, Liverpool was naturally dragged down by the Southampton team, which was still full of physical fitness, at the end of the game. In terms of the individual strength of the stars, any one of Liverpool's players is top in the Premier League, or even world class, and is much stronger than most of Southampton's players. However, a football match is not as simple as a math problem of 1 + 1. Simply adding a star to a star is meaningless. The key is to look at the overall situation, and this is where Guran's terrifying side lies. In addition to his free kick, that is talked about by the world, which is like a crescent moon scimitar and a deadly elevator. In addition to his long-range shot, that can penetrate the clouds like an arrow. In addition to his violent aesthetic sprint like Ronaldinho and his extremely fast passing skills. In addition to his super high football IQ, that can see through the tactical loopholes of the opponent's team. What makes Guran truly amazing is his almost inexhaustible and super lasting physical strength. Many female stars have a deep understanding of this. Chapter 548, Legendary Hairdryer, Manchester United's Big Boss. In today's game, Manchester United starting lineup is the classic 442 formation. This is also the formation that Sir Alex Ferguson is best at. Ferguson is a world-recognized legendary coach. In the more than 26 years since he took over Manchester United has gone from being decadent to becoming the leading team in the Premier League and even the world football, and has also ushered in a passionate era belonging to the Red Devils. Strictly speaking, Ferguson is not a tactical head coach. His most core ability is management, and it is a godfather type management. What is a godfather? To put it bluntly, it is the old man. Since Ferguson trained the class of '92, he has been the big daddy of all Manchester United players. Whether it is Keane, Beckham, or Ronaldo, Ferguson always appears as a strict father. Keane is fearless, but when he sees Ferguson, he respectfully and obediently calls him boss. Not to mention Beckham. The flying boot incident almost ruined Beckham's handsome face that he relied on for survival, but Beckham still did not dare to fall out with Ferguson. Sunderland defender Bardsley, who once tackled his own popular star Cristiano Ronaldo in his debut match when he was in Manchester United, said in an interview more than 10 years after Ferguson retired and stopped coaching that he was walking on the road without recognizing any relatives, and suddenly the window of an old car rolled down, and then Ferguson's father leaned out and yelled at him. "Son, what did I tell you? Shave your damn beard." Bardsley said that he was scared at the time. The fear of being dominated by his father in the Manchester United youth training team and the Manchester United first team when he was young rushed straight to his head. Even though he is no longer a Manchester United player, even though Ferguson has not been the head coach for more than 10 years, this feeling between father and son is still so strong. During Ferguson's coaching of Manchester United, there was no Manchester United player who disrespected or was not afraid of Ferguson. Ferguson was called a hairdryer, and this nickname was definitely not groundless. Once Manchester United players did not play well enough, Ferguson really scolded them. At that time, Manchester United was full of world-class big names, but in front of Ferguson, no big name was a big name. In Ferguson's locker room, Ferguson himself was the biggest. This is a godfather-style coach. Ferguson is a team building and management type coach, so when he just transferred from the Scottish League to the Premier League to take over Manchester United's performance was still a mess. But fortunately, the top management of Manchester United at that time gave Ferguson great trust, and Ferguson also patiently built the world famous class of '92 for Manchester United according to his own ideas. It can be said that Ferguson's coaching philosophy and Manchester United's never give up and never give up Red Devils spirit complement each other, so this has led to Ferguson coaching Manchester United for more than 26 years. He led the team to participate in more than 1,500 games and achieved an amazing 895 victories. In the 26 seasons that Ferguson coached Manchester United won a total of 13 Premier League titles, 2 Champions League titles, 5 English FA Cup titles and 38 other championship titles. The most glorious one was the 1998 to 1999 season, when Ferguson led Manchester United to achieve the feat of the Triple Crown, and was awarded by the Queen, becoming a lower-level British knight with the aristocratic suffix SRI in front of his name. You know, these dazzling achievements took 26 seasons on the surface, but in fact, Ferguson had been quietly cleaning up Manchester United's veins and cultivating the '92 class youth training talents in the first 5 years after he took over Manchester United. So, if you count them all, Ferguson only took 22 seasons at most to win these awards. Just based on these achievements, no one dares to question that Ferguson is the first coach in the Premier League. One of the main reasons for Ferguson's success at Manchester United is that Ferguson adopted a high-pressure management method for the resilient Manchester United. This Godfather-style management was very popular in the 1990s, so it is not an exaggeration to say that the Times created Manchester United. However, Godfather-style and paternalistic management is actually a double-edged sword. First of all, the paternalistic management that was popular in the 1980s and 1990s has become a bit outdated for players after 2000. As the players' fame grows, and as other clubs begin to poach players with a dog-licking approach, many well-known players have begun to be less interested in godfather and paternalistic management. The sense of collective honor and the idea of sacrificing one's own interests for the sake of the collective have also been replaced by a free and undisciplined social atmosphere. Therefore, with the change of the times, Ferguson's coaching style has also encountered unprecedented difficulties. Ferguson also saw this when he realized that his absolute authority in the locker room was being challenged by the entire era. Ferguson knew that his era had passed, which was why he chose to retire after 2012. However, the glory of the Ferguson era also led to a mess in the post-Ferguson era. For a top club like Manchester United, only a godfather and paternalistic head coach like Ferguson can suppress it, not only suppressing world-class players, but also suppressing the mentally ill senior executives, so that the senior executives dare not mess around. Once Ferguson left the locker room and retired to the second line, all the monsters came out to breathe, and even became worse. After Ferguson retired, whether it was Moyes, Ferguson's chosen successor, or Van Gaal, the famous master of personnel, or Mourinho, the master of tactics, none of them could really control Manchester United, which had already run away from the reins. Manchester United suffered a lot of benign suppression during the Ferguson era, so after Ferguson left, there was a lot of chaos, especially with the constant bloodsucking of the Jewish consortium Glazer family. Ferguson retired for only a few years, and the once dominant club in the Premier League and even the world football was falling at a speed visible to the naked eye. Except for Ferguson, no head coach can perfectly control Manchester United, a wealthy club that already has various contradictions and problems, like Ferguson. So, from this perspective alone, Ferguson is really awesome as a club manager. After retiring, Ferguson often gave lectures at universities, and the content of his lectures was also management. However, if you only regard Sir Alex Ferguson as a patriarch, who only knows how to yell and use high-pressure policies to manage troublemakers, you are completely wrong. Ferguson is definitely a top-level head coach in terms of tactics, especially in chasing trendy tactics. In the past 26 years, his tactical system has been studied thoroughly by almost no coach. Chapter 549. The strongest team in the Premier League this season, bar none. There are many famous coaches in today's football world, and their tactical styles and concepts are also unique, such as Mourinho's pragmatic defensive counter-attack tactics, Guardiola's Barcelona passing and controlling system, Klopp's high-pressure tactics, Kant's 3 centre-back tactics, Wenger's short pass and cut tactics, and so on. In contrast, Sir Alex Ferguson does not seem to have his own iconic tactical style. In the 26 seasons that Ferguson coached Manchester United played defensive counter-attacks, passed and controlled, played high pressure, played 3 centre-back, and played passing and cutting. Almost any popular style, Manchester United has tried, and tried well. Ferguson is very old-fashioned when managing the locker room, but at the tactical level, he is very flexible and good at learning and quoting. Ferguson likes to learn, or to put it more bluntly, Ferguson likes to imitate. The word imitation may not sound nice, but objectively speaking, Ferguson's style is like this. He imitates whoever is popular, and whatever tactics are popular. Moreover, it is not just imitation. Ferguson can add his own tactical ideas, so Manchester United under Ferguson's leadership can always be at the forefront of the times. In the early days of Ferguson's coaching of Manchester United, Ferguson still adopted the classic English 442 two-wing flying tactics. The results of this formation were not very good, of course. There were reasons that Manchester United's overall strength was not good in the early days of coaching, and the class of '92 had not really grown up. In the late 1980s, Ferguson actively sought change and began to imitate the variant of Michel's all-out attack and defense system. Linus Michels, the Sphinx, is the originator of the Dutch total attack and total defense, and the master of Cruyff. Although Cruyff is the first person that comes to mind when talking about the total attack and total defense passing and controlling style, this tactic was created by Michels. From a certain perspective, Cruyff, including Rijkaard and Guardiola later, were all imitating and learning from Michel's total attack and total defense and improving it. Ferguson also learned from Cruyff, Ancelotti, who was not as good as him at the time, Wenger's Arsenal's front court passing and cutting cooperation, Van Gaal's backcourt pass method, and Mourinho's defensive counter-attack. In the last few years of Ferguson's time at Manchester United, it was the era when Guardiola's Barcelona passing and controlling style rose, and Sir Alex Ferguson also seriously learned to imitate Guardiola's passing and controlling style. Therefore, Ferguson's Manchester United has never had only one style of play. They imitated whoever was the strongest, but they did not copy and paste other people's formations and tactics. Ferguson reorganized according to his own understanding and the characteristics of Manchester United players, so as to quickly form combat effectiveness. If we must say what style Ferguson has in tactics, then Ferguson's tactical style is changeable and difficult to figure out. If we must concretize Ferguson's tactics, then Ferguson's tactical characteristics are the traditional English two wings flying together. During Ferguson's coaching period, Manchester United's formation has been changing and has never been fixed, but the traditional idea of two wings flying together has always been throughout it. No matter how the tactics and formations evolve, Ferguson's foundation of two wings flying together has never wavered. This also shows that Ferguson is definitely not a coach who has no opinion on tactics and always likes to change with the tide, but a coach who really knows how to structure the formation to achieve the core intention. Ferguson prefers to use two wingers to quickly attack, and then use long passes, bottom crosses or inverted triangle passes to achieve offense. This style of play is simple, rough, and effective. Of course, this also requires very high standards from the two wingers. In Ferguson's philosophy, tactics don't need to be fancy at all. Even if they are fancy, they are used to confuse the opponent. But as a head coach, you must understand that the real core tactics are as simple as possible. Ferguson believes that if a tactic is so complicated that the whole team has to run to a fixed angle like parts to receive and pass the ball accurately, it is not a good tactic at all. At most, it can only be regarded as a fancy trick that uses 10 times the effort of others, accumulates a large number of world-class players, and may not win the championship. Ferguson believes that formations and tactics are only for the core players to get the ball and shoot. If the core players are allowed to serve the fancy formations and tactics, it is putting the cart before the horse. The current popular European style of play with wingers as the core of the attack is, to some extent, imitating and learning Manchester United's double wing play. Another feature of Ferguson's tactics is that he never uses attacking midfielders. This is not because he does not like attacking midfielder tactics, but because Ferguson believes that the technical requirements for players in the attacking midfielder position are too high. He also wanted to create one when he was training Class 92, but he simply could not train it. In Ferguson's view, those who can be called the world's top attacking midfielders must have one characteristic when breaking through the front court: the opponent's 4 or fewer people cannot restrict him. There are only a few people in the world who can be called top attacking midfielders, and most of them are concentrated in Italy. Moreover, even if you get the world's top attacking midfielder, you still have to redefine the tactics and give up his beloved two-wing flying. The world-class attacking midfielder who meets Ferguson's requirements does not want to come to Manchester United, and Ferguson does not want to give up the two-wing flying for him. So in the end, Ferguson gave up the setting of attacking midfielder. In the 26 years that Ferguson coached Manchester United, he used almost all formations and tactics, but he never used the attacking midfielder tactics. It was not a problem to have no attacking midfielder. Ferguson's alternative method was to bring up the defensive midfielder to assist the attack in the middle of the front court. After all, the offensive core of Manchester United was still on the two wingers. In short, Ferguson's strict and almost arbitrary management style and his tactical thinking of lowering his status to seriously study and imitate popular kicking methods have turned Manchester United, which was already in chaos, into a prosperous dynasty. This dynasty will not collapse because of the departure of big-name stars, nor will it collapse because of the chaos of the management, nor will it collapse because of the blood-sucking of the Jewish consortium. Because of Ferguson, many serious problems and contradictions of Manchester United were covered up. In the later period of Ferguson's coaching of Manchester United, he was actually forcibly extending the life of Manchester United. But it is undeniable that this ability to extend life is too strong, especially in the 2010-2011 season, when Manchester United's fighting power once again reached its peak. In today's game, Southampton is facing the strongest team in the Premier League this season, bar none. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.